All right. I'd like to call to order tonight the regular City Council meeting for June 1st, 2020 at 6 p.m. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we do.
Next, please.
Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance to the American and Texas flags.
Michael?
Our Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for all the things that Thou hast given unto us, and the physical blessings of dear friends and loved ones, our co-workers, our source of income that we can provide for our families and help others. Father, we're thankful for this great nation, and we have enjoyed the freedoms that we have had in the past, and pray that they will continue into the future. We ask Thy favor, Holy Father, on those who voluntarily put themselves in harm's way for the benefit of others. Heavenly Father, we ask Thy favor on our many high school seniors. Ask that Thou would help them to exercise good judgment. That, Father, they would have a willingness to take opportunity to train their conscience according to the standard of Thy word, that they might truly know right from wrong. Holy Father, we ask Thy favor upon our leaders across this nation, and help us all, Father, that we too might exercise good judgment, that we might please and glorify Thee in all that we think and do. In Christ's name we ask. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. We pledge allegiance to Thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Next, please.
Item 3, presentations. A, Royce City ISD Class of 2020 Senior Day Proclamation.
Mr. Worthy, are you in here? Would you like to speak, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Billings and City Council members of Fate. We appreciate all the commitment and dedication to our school district and everything that you do for our students and our staff members. 2020, the class of 2020 will definitely have something to remember, won't they? No doubt about it. When the last 9 weeks of school for a senior is supposed to be a really special 9 weeks, especially for seniors that are involved in so many activities that we have at Royce City High School. But, to think about it, they'll always remember 2020. They will always remember the support and love that they had from so many individuals in our two communities. It was amazing to see our parents and our community members step up to adopt 2020 senior. We had over 405 students that will be graduating at Royce City graduation on June 22nd, and all 405 of those students were adopted by a community member. And what that means is throughout the last 9 weeks, community members have showed up at their houses giving them gifts, showering them with gifts, showing their appreciation. And so it's just amazing to see the love of our two communities and the love that so many people give to our school district. And so we appreciate that. June 22nd is going to be a special day at Royce City ISD Stadium, where we have an opportunity to recognize 405 graduates with major stipulations, major requirements and restrictions set forth by the governor, by TEA, Texas Education Agency. But we're going to do everything we can to make it a special night. Unfortunately, we will have to limit the amount of tickets that we'll give each family. In the past, we've given out anywhere from 10 to 15 tickets per family, and so we'll definitely have to limit that based on some of the social distancing requirements set forth by the state. But it will be a special night, and one that we hope to continue to find ways to honor our graduates. And we really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. When I walked up and saw the sign, it definitely brought a tear to my eye, and understand that, you guys are supporting this group of seniors and understand that this proclamation means a lot to the school district. So thank you, Mayor Billings.
All right. Unfortunately, Judge Davis Weed and school trustee staff could not attend tonight, but I'm sure they would like to extend their appreciation to the city of Fayette and to their high school seniors. I believe Rockwall ISD graduates in Globe Life Park at home plate. So you can't beat walking down the Pitcher Mountain home plate to get your diploma. And I think, as Mr. Worthy said, it will be a unique opportunity. Mr. Miggis, if you'd like anything to say?
I would just like to reiterate one thing that Michael said during his invocation. And to all the seniors, and especially now in the time of turmoil that we have in our country, is to make wise choices, because every choice that you make has ramifications, both good and potentially bad. And if you make hasty choices without thought of what the future is going to hold based on that choice, I've seen many people make bad choices that have caused major heartache for themselves in the future and for their families. And if you stop and not get caught up in the moment, and you think about it, and you think about the ramification in the future, hopefully you'll make a wise choice.
Mr. Fields.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Mr. Robbins.
Well, yeah, my son graduated last year, and it's such a complete opposite this year. Our neighbor, Zoe, she's graduating from Rockwall this year, and we adopted her, and it was really special to spend that time with her and give her the things that she's wanted and that she deserves for all the accomplishments that she has. So I just congratulations to all the ISDs for making it through this thing and getting diplomas in kids' hands and giving them the tools they need for the rest of their life. So,
Mr. Hamilton.
Just want to say congratulations to all the seniors. Good luck. And if you need anything in terms of advice or anything else, come and talk to David Billings. I'll give you his email. Thank you.
Oh, you're in trouble. Ms. Fisher.
Is it on? Hello. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay, I just want to say congratulations to all the seniors. Even though the half of the year has been a difficult, challenging one, I think that it's also probably built a lot of character and resilience in these seniors that they wouldn't otherwise have. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll do with that resilience and the challenges that were brought to them. And then I would tell them the same thing I tell all my kids, is that kindness above all else is what matters. And as long as you're being kind and you're doing what you feel is right and following God's will, then you're going to be okay. So I would say the same as him. If they ever need advice or help, that I think any of us would be willing to give them that advice and help, along with David Billings. Thank you.
All right. That was planned. All right, so I'd like to say my congratulations to the seniors and Fayette and Rockwall ISD and Royce ISD. It's been an extraordinary year. We just were talking about that. I had the honor of sponsoring a Rockwall High School Heath senior, and it was a special moment to buy them things. It was interesting how well they received that. They truly have challenges this year we all have had, and they're going to do quite well in life, I believe. If anybody can get through this period of time with the attitude and the sincerity that they did, I think they'll do quite well in life going forward. So thank you so much. So, Mr. Robbins, the first one.
I got a proclamation. Whereas the year 2020 has brought about dramatic changes to the daily lives and routines of all citizens in Fayette due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas Royce City ISD schools, their students have had to transition from physical classrooms to virtual classrooms for the last 9 weeks of the 2019 and 2020 school year, and whereas the 2020 graduates have faced the challenges of social distancing head-on and adapted to a new normal as they prepare themselves for their future paths, and whereas the Royce City ISD 2020 graduating seniors will be honored and celebrated with a graduation ceremony on June 22nd, 2020 at the Royce City ISD football stadium, and whereas the City of Fayette wishes to acknowledge and show support for the Royce City ISD class of 2020. Now, therefore, David Billings, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Fayette, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2020 as Royce City ISD Class of 2020 Senior Day in the City of Fayette, Texas, and commend and honor each of the graduating seniors on the occasion of their graduation.
Next, please.
Item 3B, Rockwall ISD Class of 2020 Senior Day Proclamation.
Ms. Fisher?
Okay, I have another proclamation for the Rockwall kiddos and Rockwall Heath. Whereas the year of 2020 has brought about dramatic changes to the daily lives and routines of all citizens in Fate due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and whereas Rockwall ISD schools and their students have had to transition from physical classrooms to virtual classrooms for the last 9 weeks of the 2019-2020 school year, and whereas the 2020 graduates have faced the challenges of social distancing head-on and adapted to a new normal as they prepare themselves for the future past, and whereas the Rockwall High School 2020 graduating seniors will be honored and celebrated with a graduation ceremony on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. at Globe Life Field, Arlington, Texas, and whereas the Rockwall Heath High School 2020 graduating seniors will be honored and celebrated with a graduation ceremony on Wednesday, June 10th at 7:30 p.m. at Globe Life Field, Arlington, and whereas the City of Fate wishes to acknowledge and show support for the Rockwall ISD Class of 2020. Now, therefore, I, David Billings, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Fate, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim June 2nd, 2020 as Rockwall ISD Class of 2020 Senior Day, and in the City of Fate, Texas, and commend and honor each of the graduating seniors on the occasion of their graduation. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and have caused the seal of City of Fate, Texas, to be affixed this first day of June in the year 2020.
Why don't you be dead center and Alan and Tamara be on the sides? Yes, please. Here we go. Nice big smiles. Go. Crinkle your eyes. 1, 2, and 3. Yes. Thank you.
Next, please.
Item 4, public comment. The majority of the comments that I've received will be heard during the public hearing portions. However, I do have one request to speak to the council in lieu of attendance.
Okay.
And it's for agenda item 6E. I wasn't sure if you wanted to hear it now or if you wanted to hear it during the agenda item.
Let's hear it during the public hearing for agenda items, so we have all the same time.
That one is not a posted public hearing.
I know we're going to have
to hear it during that time anyway.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
going to have allow the public to speak for those sections. Okay.
Okay.
All right. What I want to do real quickly is take a moment to address some issues or concerns our citizens have had on social media about the protest in our county and state, and keeping the spirit of open communication with the public. Rockwall County law enforcement, including Fate DPS, is closely monitoring the internet chatter about planned protests in Rockwall County. If events warrant further action, Rockwall County law enforcement and Fate DPS will communicate to the public via social media on any action that we need to be taken. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that we are actually engaged and we are actually monitoring the situation, and we'll keep the public informed as we deem warranted. So thank you for that. All right. So today we have a complicated agenda. Okay, so I want to kind of walk the council through and the public through on how we're going to run the meeting tonight, right? Because I know it's really important for people to be heard tonight, and I know it's important, and it's important for the council to hear your input and to have time to speak, right? The council has adopted a public speaking policy. I want to just remind people tonight to be respectful. You may criticize us all day long. I don't have an issue with that. But please be respectful. If you're not respectful, I'll probably remind you to be respectful. And And I would like you just to be respectful. And if we ask you a question, the council will be respectful to you. That's my request for tonight, okay? I think that's a good rule we all can follow, so that would be good. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to, so let me get through the agenda first, and then we'll talk about it, but I know if we have concerns. So I want to do agenda items 6A, 6B, and 6C first, right? Those are non-Montana items, okay? I know, I don't know what else to say tonight. The Williamsburg East and some other applications we have received the council wants to consider. Then we have to go into executive session, unfortunately, right? We've had a last-minute proposal back from the developer on the agreement. We're going to get briefed by our legal counsel on that. So I want to be very open and honest on what we're doing and why we're going to executive session. We thought we had the deals finalized, and there are some last-minute changes that our city attorney and city manager wants us to consider as a council for an executive session. Once we come out of executive session, we're going to remember how this works, right? So we have Montana Development coming in. We're going to have a vote on do we change the flip, right? The future land use plan. That's one vote. Second vote is zoning. I know I'm reading it now. Second vote is zoning. The third vote is concept plan, and then the plat is the fourth item. There's 4 separate votes. Okay, I'm going to hold one public hearing for the public to speak for items, all 4 together. Right, you don't have to speak 4 times. Okay. Remember, on Montero, there is a residential part of this. There is a commercial development part of this, what I'd like to call the tech part. I'm sure our attorney will tell me not to do that again. So that there's separate applications. Then we're going to vote on the PID, right? The PID for the residential and the PID on the commercial, right? There's been a lot of question on why the developer split the PID. At the time, we'll address that issue, but they have requested. We did approve that, and now we have to go through the process of the council to vote on that, right? Then we're going to have one public hearing for residential, one for the tech park, and the PID same way, one at a time, right? So we'll just you have plenty of time to speak. We're going to ask you to limit it to 3 minutes, but if you're mid-thought or if you're, want to finish a thought, please do that. I'm not going to cut you off at 3 minutes, right? But I'm asking, don't repeat yourself. Just make your point and let others to speak tonight. But I think we don't have a lot of people want to speak, and I want to be respectful to your time, so you get a chance to speak tonight. After that is done, then we have 2 COVID-19 grant applications the council has approved tonight. Those are all about getting money for the CARES Act and some other funding that we have available that we have applied, but our staff has done an extraordinary job, and working during the pandemic, and the chief and the DPS team are just done a wonderful job, and we have a chance to get reimbursed. But to do that, we have to approve the grant application and the money for that, and that's the last thing we'll consider. So I'm assuming that I would like you all to table the whole thing, but I'm not naive enough to think you're not going to leave after Montero. But you all stay for the grant funding. It's really important on how this works and how we get funding back from the CARES Act that you've heard so much about. So I want to just get input from the council right now, if this was an acceptable way of doing it, however we play executive session, and we're okay with doing this way. I know, Ian, you have some questions?
Yeah, I do
Sure.
want to convene to executive session to ask some clarifying questions based on the development.
Yeah, are you okay we do 3 items before executive session, then go into executive session before Montero?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Is there any questions? Everybody saying yes? Okay. All right, let's do it. Vicki?
Item 5, consent agenda.
All right, I'm hoping people have had a chance to review the consent agenda. We just have one thing on here. So any questions? Okay, we're going to do the regular, are we going to hand voting tonight, or are we going to do the electronic voting?
It will be hand vote, or you can do a roll call vote. No electronic votes.
Thank you. All right, and I'll do a roll call vote again tonight then. Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I got a motion by Councilman Robbins. Do I have a second?
A second.
Councilman Hamilton, a second. And this one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 6-0. Next, please.
Item 6A, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding approval of a preliminary plat for 609 residential lots in the Williamsburg East subdivision, phases 1 through 4, containing 163.57 acres located in the J.B. Merchant Survey Abstract Number 159 and the J. Thompson Survey Abstract Number 210, City of Fate, Rockwall County, Texas. Applicants Fate 551 LP, PMB Capital and JTG Holdings, case PP 20-005.
Will, I'm assuming you're taking this one since you're walking up.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Be real quick with this one. This was this particular item is the result of a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that had to be held for a special called meeting. The reason being was a little bit of oversight in staff's processing of the application. So the meeting actually occurred on 5/28. So what you see in the staff summary is something that's a little bit unique, and the uniqueness is that the recommendation is to be provided here at the City Council meeting. I wanted to point that out specifically because, based off the new House Bill 3167, i.e. the shot clock bill, that particular recommendation is going to, in essence, become commonplace, where City Council and P&Z are literally going to be having design discussions in their meetings because of the way that we are now forced to go about the review process. So essentially, city staff will review, provide comments. Oftentimes, the applicant won't even see the comments based off the submittal schedule until the day of the meeting, which means that there will be a lot of back and forth going on between P&Z and or City Council. But for this particular application, there's also some requirements in regards to how plats are acted on. And it's my understanding that there are three different options. Number one, you can approve. Number two, you can approve with conditions. And number three is deny. The city attorney has, in essence, recommended, I believe, that we never make a motion on a plat to approve with conditions. However, with the exception of this particular application, seeing as it is the very first one. P&Z, whenever they considered it, it was the first review of comments by staff. And guys, there was actually, relative to history, very few comments. Looking at the comments, if you had a chance to look at the P&Z staff summary, there was actually only 3 pages of staff comments. Usually there's 6 to 10 pages, so relatively few. And speaking with the city engineer, the drainage and TIA are still pending in terms of those technical plans being reviewed, and therefore it was definitely noted at the P&Z meeting that the applicant proceeding with the plat application is certainly at risk, and they are aware of that. However, P&Z ultimately did decide to make a motion to approve with conditions. And the motion verbatim was approved subject to staff comments contained in the May 26, 2020 memo, with 2 points of ingress and egress being required on Gettysburg Parkway as shown on the concept plan. And that is in regards to the initial preliminary plat submittal for the northernmost section. There was only 1 point of ingress and egress to Gettysburg. The concept plan as approved at the time of zoning had 2, so that is what that particular comment is speaking to. And the applicant today, this morning, I believe, submitted something to staff that has 2 separate options for addressing that. So they're actively working on getting that addressed. That is it for the staff presentation. If you have any questions.
I have a quick one. So didn't we vote on this once already? On
No,
Weber
sir.
Geist?
No, sir. That was the plat, or pardon me, the Plan Development Zoning Ordinance Amendment and
Right.
the concept plan.
Okay, this is...
And this is the preliminary plat.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay.
Will, what was the vote for P&Z?
It was 5-0. Because we only have 6 currently, and 1 member was not able to make the special call meeting. 4-0, pardon me.
To approve?
Correct, with those conditions.
With those conditions.
Any more? Ian? Alan, you good? Just quickly, you make an interesting point, and I want to make sure, I know we get a lot of feedback, people don't get, we don't do this transparently, right? So the shot clock bill, right, is just basically saying we're going to get less notice as council and we'll do more of the work in council chambers, right, during council meetings. And so the public will have the same notice that we have, right? There's nothing going on, with the developer beside we just got to do more here, right? More design work, things like that. Into the shot clock bill?
I surmise that there's going to be a whole lot more discussion in regards to taking actions on plats because y'all are going to receive comments from the Development Review Committee and in all probability as we go through the process, responses from the development community themselves in response to city staff comments, where it's literally going to become kind of like a design charrette in regards to their plat.
No, I understand. I just want to make sure we're clear. Brenda, yeah.
So, actually, I don't think anyone realized, except those of us who do this all the time, that House Bill 3167 was as bad for the development community as it is for the staff, because most of the city attorneys that I know are not going to be recommending approval with conditions. We're either going to be recommending approval because they've met all requirements, or denial, and we certify why it's being denied. That's because we've got to get through the process. What it does really is it puts the onus on the applicant to meet with the staff in pre-application meetings prior to submitting the application so that all of those issues are worked out. For the development community, unfortunately, it has moved some of their engineering costs to the preliminary plat phase. Okay. So it's going to cause them to spend more money up front. Normally, they would do all of that work between preliminary and final.
Right.
So I really think your task is going to be to approve because they've worked everything out, or to deny based on the staff's identification of the ways in which the plat application does not meet our ordinance requirements.
Okay.
So I think it's going to make Will's life more difficult. I'm not sure that will really change you guys as much.
Okay.
And it's going to make the applicant's life more miserable.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody understood the new process.
We are very clear that we have to move through the process. Unfortunately, when the governor allowed the disaster declaration for the pandemic to toll the timing on a number of statutes, he specifically declined to address the shot clock on plat applications. And so that's why we are where we are.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Will. Any more questions? All right. So you want the motion to contain a condition, Will, that says that the plan will contain 2 points of egress?
And the city and the comments in the May 20?
Yes, so I'll read it one more time verbatim for the record. Is that okay?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So P&Z's recommendation 4-0 was to approve with conditions subject to staff comments contained in the May 26, 2020 memo with 2 points of ingress and egress on Gettysburg as shown on the concept plan. And that is a little bit vague as shown on the concept plan, but the P&Z Commission knows what the intent is. Staff knows what the intent of that is. The applicant does as well, and we're working to address it.
Okay, good. Okay.
David, I have a couple of questions.
Sure, absolutely.
So I was looking at the drawing, and there was no real summary. How many sub 5,000 foot square lots are there?
39.8%, something like that. 39.9%.
So almost 40%.
Yes, sir.
And are we allowing any zero lot line setbacks on these?
So the developer has not proposed to do any of that, but if I recall, the PD does authorize it. But again, the developer's not constructing any of those.
Okay.
Any more comments for Will? Any council discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Actually, I do have. So
sure, no problem.
Going back to our conversation we had last week, 2 weeks ago, about the speeding problems we have in the city, and with the streets, with the current width of streets proposed in here, is that with our kind of new kind of direction we kind of landed on, being narrower streets to resist the temptation to drive fast, things like that?
Yes, sir. I believe the cross sections are either 27 or 28 feet for internal residential streets, which the existing ones are 31 feet. There's alleys, so there's going to be less on-street parking, but the streets will be skimmed down, and there's a requirement for street trees, which should, over time, create an effect, like a tunnel effect, which reduces your vision, which ultimately serves that purpose.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
Any more comments?
Gettysburg going across looks like from the concept plan to this plan is no longer 2-lane divided, but now just, like you said, like Councilman Field says, a narrower street.
So for Gettysburg itself?
Correct.
So on the concept plan, I believe that that we ultimately had it to where it was either going to be a 3-lane with a suicide lane down the middle, or it would be 2 lanes with 2 bike lanes on both sides and then a median in the middle. And they went with the median in the middle and bike lanes on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Ms. Fisher, Mr. Hamilton? All right, I'll take a motion, please.
So 6A, correct?
Yeah, 6A. Absolutely.
I make a motion that we approve case PP-20-005
With the condition.
with conditions.
Well, you could either do it as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, or you could refer to the May 26th memo containing the comments and the requirement for 2 points of access on the Gettysburg extension. Either way.
How would you like it?
Vicki, in accordance with the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation?
That would be best.
There you go.
Make a motion to approve case PP-20-005 with conditions according to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I have a motion by Councilman Robbins. I have a second.
A second.
Second by Councilman Hamilton. We'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Bagasi.
No.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Councilman Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Billings votes no. The motion passes 4-2 with Councilman Magasi and Mayor Pro Tem Billings voting no. Next, please.
Item 6B, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding an application to replat lots 1 through 3, Block A, and lots 1 through 3, Block J of the Old Town Fate plat, and adding a 3.5-acre portion of an unplatted tract to create one lot totaling approximately 6.5 acres. The area that is the subject of this replat is described as the property generally located north of I-30 and southeast of Brown Avenue. Rockwall CAD property IDs 16422, 16423, 16431, and 12848. Senior Living Center, case RP 20-001. First is applicant presentation, second staff report and presentation, third public hearing, and fourth discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding resolution number R 2020-025.
So just a quick question, Brenda. We have to do a public hearing on this one, right?
Yes, because a portion of it was residential.
Got it. All right. Michael, who's taking this one? Applicant want to come and speak? Hello.
Good evening. My name is Randy Early with Weird Associates, 2201 East Lamar Boulevard, Arlington, Texas. We're before you today to request a replat of the property noted before. This property will be served for a senior living center, and it'll also serve to extend Black Oak Lane from its current location east to intersect with I-30, or the I-30 frontage road, excuse me. We as well, I think as the previous case, had some comments pending by staff. The two major comments were obtaining an off-site easement to allow for drainage, and then a letter of permission for grading, which were both submitted to city staff earlier today. So with that, we believe we've met all conditions for the plat, and with that, myself and the developer is here, so should you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer what we can.
Do we have a staff report?
All right. So this one, there were really two options for how we could go about platting it, and essentially we could do a minor plat and then a final plat, which is a two-step process, or we could do a replat because we were taking the existing 6 lots and then adding an unplatted tract into it in order to create 1 lot. So we ultimately opted to do just the replat. It was because it was a one-step process and there was public hearings. There's public hearings involved with the replat process itself. So this particular item, just a couple of things to note is that it will extend Black Oak Street all the way to the service road, and that street extension will be a 27-foot pavement section with on-street parking on the south side, meaning closest to the apartments themselves, and then there's an 8-foot trail in between the on-street parking and the building facade for the apartments. And then, of course, as I mentioned, unplatted tract, 6 lots, will now become just 1 single lot. So whenever P&Z considered the application, they did make a recommendation of conditional approval 4-0, and the condition was outstanding city engineer comments shall be addressed appropriately. The applicant did resubmit, I believe it was actually on Thursday, the day that we considered this item, and Misty, the city engineer, got back to me today and essentially said, of course there's some things that we could touch up, however there are touch-up items and things that can be addressed while construction is ongoing and then noted in the as-built plans. So all that is to say, in my opinion, I believe that you can approve it without any conditions moving forward, simply because the engineer has reviewed and is okay with the plans as presented.
Any questions?
Was Black Oak always supposed to go through? Was that something a new? Was it just supposed to connect it to Barnes at one point and not go all the way through to 551?
So I assume you're referring to the master thoroughfare plan, and we've never actually. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
We've never actually shown anything on the master thoroughfare plan connecting all the way through.
Does city staff have any recommendations for controlling how quickly vehicles move from the service road to cut around the 551 stoplight to get to 551?
It's a 27-foot section with on-street parking.
Just asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think with on-street parking, we'll have a narrow road, right, where we have less speeding, right?
It'll feel that way, certainly.
Feel that way. Okay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Of course, I should have mentioned we did publish and send notice to property owners, and I apologize for not mentioning that, but no responses have been received, either for the zoning case way back when and then also for this replat.
Okay. Any more questions for Will? All right. Seeing none, thank you, Will. Appreciate it. I'd like to open the public hearing. The time is now 6:39. Is there anybody who would like to speak for or against Agenda Item 6B? Going once? Going twice?
I do have a written request.
Yes. Thank you.
In lieu of attendance.
Yep.
It's from Heather Bellamy, address 221 Cedar Drive. And she says, I would like to enter opposition to this project until the community sees the results and outcomes of the previous senior living complexes and Williamsburg area apartment complexes currently scheduled to be built that were approved by the council in the last 18 months. This project looks like it approves yet more high-density housing and the trend of an ever-increasing number of apartment complexes being built in a small town that has been previously objected to by the citizens of Fate continues. Turning Fate into quote-unquote Garland has been mentioned online and in public hearings. It has been important to this community to maintain a distinctive small-town feel, which has been vocalized in many previous meetings and largely ignored by the council. giving a voting voice to non-property owners and negating what the population of 6.8 square miles envisions for their community is a frustrating issue. Yes, you meet the minimum 200 foot of the subject property notification required under state law, but you as a council could opt to increase the notification distance and allow votes and active participation to more current residents of this community. Is there a guarantee that this multifamily housing will be occupied by senior residents only, or will the changing of this preliminary plat allow for any multifamily housing to be built once platting has been approved? If additional apartment complexes must be allowed, next to I-30 is not the worst location choice, although seniors may not appreciate the road noise, as I have previously pointed out on other project proposals. Thank you, Heather Bellamy.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, I'd like to close the public hearing at 6:42. Okay, any further council discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve case RP 20001.
I have a motion by Councilman Macy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Councilman Robbins. Right, let's do it that way. Councilman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Macy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Billingsley votes yes. Motion passes 6-0. Next, please.
Item 6C, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding a zoning application to zone 2.98 acres from agricultural district to neighborhood commercial district for a senior center. The location of this zoning application is 2622 Blackland Road, which is due east of Rayburn Electric Substation. Rockwall CAD property ID 88212, case ZR 19-003. First, applicant presentation. Second, staff report and presentation. Third, public hearing. Fourth, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding ordinance number O-2020-014.
Is that Will again? Okay, applicant comes first. Okay, thank you. Hello, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Gentlemen, my name is Mayor Ratana. I am the chairman of the Lao American Senior Mutual Assistance, a 501c3 corporation, 100% charitable. Nobody got any money or salary or anything from compensation. I'm not an engineer. I'm not an architect, but I just want to talk to you from my heart and from the heart of all the member, 450 members of the Lao Senior. We decided to build and locate in this city because, the temple, we have built the temple for the past 20 years, and thousands of people are members and worship to come to the temple. And our members are mostly a member of the temple. And then we started raising money and decided to build and we started building it in 2016, July. We started to pack the ground, to get ready for the foundation. And then, I don't know, I think lately, the city council annexed our property. And then we have to change everything. We submit the plan, the original plan, the survey. That was not accepted by the city, and we have to redo the survey. And then there is a question about easement, and a lot of work and money spent on the easement, document. And then still, we are required to do the architecture and the engineering, all kind of documentation that we have done. So we work in and out this office for hundreds of times, and working with Will, hoping that everything will satisfy the city. Okay, the reason that we want to be here is we feel that our senior would like to have a place for retirement, and also because of the temple, some of them plan to already move in the area. Also the Asian community start moving in the area. My friend, Vietnamese, Lao, Thai, start to buy lands, and then even the children of a senior, they think here is this there is a temple here. I like my father, my mother live here, and I have a friend that just moved to in the city in the subdivision because their daughter is in California, and there is this place they want you to be here. This is actually what happened, and then we come in and out, and we still we've been told to do another thing, and we just follow. So I think it's a good thing that have a center for the senior. Maybe we have a good diversity. The Asian community is interested in moving in this area, and actually, I'm disappointed about the process that's been here, and then we have to hire 2-3 builder because they cannot keep waiting for the work to be done, and it's waiting for the decision from the city. So, but actually, we just I have a last meeting on the zoning board. They said there's no reason. They said they cannot approve. They say it's political. So I talked to you. Technically, it's there's nothing. I think we satisfy the city with all kind of technical problem that require of us. But now we just need to have a place. It's not a big place, just a place that we have. We can meet. Senior can meet to come there and talk, and maybe watch the ethnic movie, and probably have a cup of coffee with each other and talk. This is the only thing that we ask for. So I think at this time, this is the last resort, I think, because, we just ask you to approve this project, considering the goodwill and of the senior community that would like to locate here. And that's all I need to ask you, for now, and think, hopefully you would consider, our request. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, so I have a question for Brenda. If I understand correctly, this fell P&Z 6-0.
That's correct.
So we need a supermajority vote tonight.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, and then, ma'am, I'll get you in a. Are you? I'm sorry, ma'am. Are you part of the applicant? Yes, I am. Please come forward. I'm sorry about that. I'm not totally sure.
Good evening, everyone. Well, this is my first time coming to City Hall. I
Welcome.
am actually not a member of the Lao, Senior Center members yet. Hopefully soon, but that number's around the corner with the minimum requirement. But thank you. I really appreciate you guys' prayer, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, because I'm a strong Catholic faith myself. I was telling Mr. Ned, let me give you a summary why they want to open the senior center. They want to, because my background is I'm an ER nurse. I've done hospice, home health for 15 years. And then I ran a small company with about 100 employees. I employ from 18 years old to 78 years old. Through my hospice and through my company, I grew to love seniors because I felt like not all of them has, the income they can retire on. So we give them that little sponsor. I'm actually one of the sponsors for the LASMA. We helped fundraise. I was recruited to do a fundraising last year. We raised almost, $77,700. Actually, the Lord's number, right? So I raised that, but I wouldn't expect to be one of the advocates. So he told me they were going through some struggles, trying to get approved, the zoning. They actually laid the foundation prior to the city annexed them. It was back in July 26, 2016. So 2-3 years after that, they got a letter, the city annexed the land, which they didn't, limited English speaking, they didn't understand what to do. Of course, through their good faith, they went along on their own, coming here to the city, trying to get the documents done. They didn't understand. Will was having a hard time communicating with them, and they tried their best, and Will was trying to help with them. Long story short, they tried their best to do everything, and going through the stuff, whatever the city required. But I can assure you, not only am I the one of the sponsor who will help build this, we're not asking the city for funds. We're not asking the city to do anything. We're not be a burden to the city. We can assure you, once the zoning is approved, the building is, is for the senior center to gather. They're in their golden age. They want to have at least the dignity to be together, last golden years, to remember all those things they've done. And they're providing translation. They're providing help with U.S. citizen applications. And like I say, they will have health fair for the community. And most of the sponsors are like doctors and lawyers who are actually in the city of Fate. They are also helping us. Would like to see this, for the senior center. So you can please, consider our applications. We're doing it for goodwill. Like I told him, if it's in God's will, if it's meant to be. If not, we're just going to have to figure out another plan. Okay? That's pretty much my senses. I believe Peter just wanted to say anything else, or you're good.
Hey, just quickly, did you do your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. Candi Fam. I'll give you the business address. 4109 Clay Avenue, Haltom City, 76117.
Thank you. Sir, do you want to speak on behalf of the applicant too?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I guess that's one way of doing it.
Thank you, City Council, for taking the time to listen to our case today. And I think it's really important. I want to touch on a couple things that my colleagues have failed to mention. First of all, my name is Peter Salfadera. I am a volunteer for Lao American Senior Mutual Assistance. I am not paid by the organization. I do everything pro bono. I am one of the sponsors for the Lao American Senior Center as well. I think that to really understand the need for this senior center, you have to understand the history of in order to understand our needs, we need to understand the history of Lao American history and how it relates to American history and the secret war in Laos. I'm sure many of you may have never heard of Laos and where it's located at before. It's this little yellow country here, right next to Vietnam and Thailand. This is where our country is. During the Vietnam War, the CIA conducted and U.S. Special Forces conducted covert operations in Laos, a neutral country. The SGU units were created along to fight and monitor the Ho Chi Minh Trail to prevent northern Vietnamese communists from attacking U.S. forces down in South Vietnam. And we monitored the Ho Chi Minh Trail with commando radar teams and rescued American pilots. We fought alongside the United States as allies to fight against the communist oppression. Unfortunately, the war was lost. The U.S. deaths in that Vietnam War was 280,000 U.S. troops. We also suffered our own losses. The number of deaths of Laotians was 115,000 killed, 120,000 wounded, many missing in action. During our battles, we held back 3 divisions of Vietnamese communists from entering in South Vietnam. That's 30,000 troops. That would have undoubtedly caused the U.S. casualty to go up much higher had we not been involved in the fight as well. There's 500,000 Laotians now living today in the United States. Many of our elders are suffering from, and our elders and our veterans are suffering from combat wounds and PTSD. Yet none of our veterans are eligible for veteran benefits, or including health care or the burial international cemeteries, unlike our Vietnamese and Filipino counterparts who did fight alongside the United States. The reason for this, because Laos officially was not there. This was called the secret war in Laos. If you look it up, you'll find that we are the most bombed country in the world per capita, more than all of World War II, Germany, Afghanistan, Iraq combined. This little tiny country that's no bigger than the state of Maine. Again, our senior center is not just a local place for them to build and to connect. We are actually providing services, free translation services, pro bono services, citizenship translation services, and social services to help our senior citizens. We started this project with many members in the community involved. We have over 500 families that we support, 400 elders that will be receiving assistance from this community center. We ask of you to consider to allow us to rezone from agricultural to industrial to neighborhood commercial in order for us to build the senior center, and we can provide these services for our senior citizens that will help them improve their quality of life.
Okay, thank you. And can we fill a form out, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you fill out a form?
Yes, I do
please?
have a form to fill out, yes.
Thank you. All right. Will, this is yours? Thank you, sir. Okay. A couple of things, kind of walk us through the P&Z. I know, sure. So real quickly for the record, so John, The P&Z President, John Stacy, sent an email to the council expressing his rationale for what happened. So just want to make sure people realize that, and we'll kind of walk us through what your thing is and then what the rationale of the P&Z was. Okay, thank you.
So the applicants and the representation did a very excellent job with explaining, and you can certainly empathize with how or the reasons why P&Z struggled so greatly in considering their application. There was I believe there was 4 separate occasions in which they did consider it. They tabled it 2 separate times, and then the applicant ultimately withdrew that initial application in the beginning of this year, resubmitted, and then came back to P&Z. Were scheduled to be heard by them much sooner, but of course COVID occurred and that postponed it. But whenever they finally considered it for a 4th time, it was just as painful by way of what do they do in regards to this particular application as it was the first 3 times. So it's pretty self-explanatory, and the applicants did a really good job of what the intent is for. And therefore, I'm going to just solely focus on what P&Z's deliberations were. And in essence, or in short, they wanted to call out or bring to the forefront how this application even came about. And essentially what occurred was there was a stop work order that was issued by the city back in 2017, I believe is when it was, and that started the whole chain of events. And then P&Z also considered the fact, we've heard the application before, and part of the rationale for tabling the applications previously was to allow time to do a little site work and work on the architectural elevations, which the applicants did do with the initial application, and they have provided with this application, and that is included in the packet. Then, let me see here. The P&Z then, really what it boiled down to for P&Z was the location, and it's the location relative to the future land use plan. By way of the location, they noted that it's located at the periphery of the city on a road that is not heavily traveled, and therefore emergency services for these types of facilities in a location so far out would not be ideal, however, not undoable or not doable. And then they also spoke to the public utilities and the availability of them. And the site does not have sewer, so there will be a septic tank. It does have public water, however, it's not the city's public water. It's Blackland Water Supply, of which I do not believe they have capacity to provide fire protection. However, the requirement in the city of Fate for fire protection is if the building is greater than 5,000 square feet. This building is a little bit less than that, so they wouldn't necessarily be required to have fire protection. They also, at the very last meeting, they discussed the zoning in terms of the requested zoning district. And the thing that really stuck out to me in the conversation about the uses associated with the neighborhood commercial zoning district was that if they were to zone the building neighborhood commercial, it would absolutely authorize the use that is requested. However, if the use ultimately did not come to being, or over time, let's say in a couple of years, was moved to another location, then the building would be able to be used for any use authorized within the neighborhood commercial zoning district. So really, it came down to P&Z to be a land use decision based off the future land use plan designation. And then, of course, its rural location and its intended purpose. And all things considered, the P&Z ultimately wanted to push it to you guys for y'all's consideration because they were still torn, but they did recommend 4-0 that the application be denied based off the future land use plan designation.
Okay, so how do you want to discuss? Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Something that you need to be aware of.
Sure.
So the original application was submitted prior to House Bill 2439 and would have allowed the city's exterior building material requirements to apply to this particular development. The Because it was withdrawn and resubmitted, now that resubmittal comes after House Bill 2439. So we have no control over the quality of the building materials so long as it's a material that's approved in one of the last 3 national code cycles. Normally, we've addressed this through development agreements, but in this particular case, there doesn't seem to be, the financial ability to upgrade the building. In fact, there's been discussion about they may have to construct it in phases. So that's just one of the considerations that I think you need to think about if you were to be able to get past the future land use map amendment. But this is a 2-part process. And the first step would require you to amend the future land use map to change the designation from ag to neighborhood commercial.
And the second vote would be on concept plan, right?
Would be on the zoning.
On the zoning, got it. Thank you. All right. Anything else, Will?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's have council discussion first. I know the applicant wants to respond to that, so let me just do one thing at a time. Council, do you have any more questions for Will or comments or concerns?
I have comments. Go ahead, Tamara.
Okay, so it sounded like you had a few concerns, but was your overriding concern that if it were to fail, that it could be used for any type of other kind of commercial project? That was one of the considerations?
That was one of the considerations,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
And then the second is what Brenda mentioned, which is they are allowed to use whatever building materials.
Architectural, yes, ma'am.
And so did you get any kind of idea of what those building materials may be? Are we allowed to say, these are the things that we would like, and are you considering doing these type of things? Is that something we're allowed to do?
So at this point in time, the zoning action is your ability to approve it or not approve it, but if you approve it, then you cannot say or require the things that you're talking about.
Okay.
So you approve it and you can suggest it, but you can't require it or...
Is this the position that we'd be in any situation?
Correct.
So they're not an exception?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The elevations that they provided, which are in the council packet, it's I don't even know how to. It's a metal building with some architectural enhancements. Is the best way that I can put it.
So, so I see on the map 2 pieces of property outlined, right?
Yes, sir.
Is this for both pieces of that property, or is there temple on the property to the south of those?
So it's both of those pieces. Both of those pieces are comprised of 2.98 acres.
Okay, and they're going to put the building where on those acres?
Somewhere on there.
I'm sorry? Crossing both, towards the front of the road, crossing both pieces of property, straddling the property line?
I don't know, sir.
Hey, just a second, please. We got to get a little more organized. So let's ask the question to council, and then I have a question for our attorney, because I always give you some leeway on speaking, but I got to kind of back in because we do have a public hearing, and there are some legal requirements for that, ma'am, if you don't mind. So let me just let the council finish up, and then we'll come back to on how we proceed going forward.
So I know that it will comprise the entirety of those 2 lots. I believe the majority of parking is situated on the lot to the south, but the one thing I absolutely wanted to bring to your attention why I'm bumbling and answering that question is because it did take a while to even understand, as the applicant indicated, what they were actually intending to do and on the properties themselves, which properties were included. But we did ultimately determine that it's those 2 properties, though.
Okay, so if there's a pad or a foundation already poured, we know where it physically sits on those properties?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to understand how that's going to fit on the properties. Number 2, is there a requirement to rezone it in order to allow them to complete their building?
Yes, sir, there is.
Can we not do a special permit or a special use permit or any of that stuff?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And to make perfectly clear, this is a senior activity center, not a senior center with apartments and people living there. It's for activities.
Correct.
Okay, any more questions?
The future land use map as it's presented and designed right now, with the council funding a comp plan redesign, is this future land use plan wrapped up in that comp plan relook? And so is there a chance that this future land use plan changes in 6 months, a year, year and a half?
Yeah, the comp plan review, well, correct me if I'm wrong here, the comp plan review will be comprehensive across what we want and what the comprehensive plan committee recommends back to P&Z and back to council. So, of course, when we change the P&Z, you have to go through the whole process of the land use plan and the zoning changes. So it's a pretty complex process of going through it. We also have a lot of changes. It depends on what the committee wants to do when we appoint P&Z and then us as a council.
So we make the decision tonight to either approve or deny. What happens if we approve and then the future land use plan changes? Is there any... There's no clawback. It's their grandfathered in, correct?
Grandfathered in.
Okay.
And we deny tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, I'm in my land use. If we do deny, they have to wait 6 months to come back again, right?
I believe it's a year.
A year? Okay, a year in the comp plan. Okay, thank you.
So one other point. This is out in a pretty rural area of the city.
Yes, sir, rural area.
So building materials and whatnot being out there would match metal buildings that are already out there in those areas and those locations. So I personally, at this point in time, don't see any reason. I mean, I get the land use plan and the future potential issues, but if the Laos community puts a facility in, they're going to be there for a while. I don't see any reason why we should deny it.
Any more comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The guy just distracted me here.
Tim was easily distracted.
Weird. So what else would you need, if we approve it tonight, what else would you need for the community center to, take shape and take form and for the folks to actually build it?
That's a very good question. So the property itself actually isn't contiguous with Blackland Road, but they have acquired an easement from whomever the property owner is. So because it's not contiguous, they can't do a minor plat, which is an administrative process. They would then have to go through a preliminary plat, a final plat, and a site plan. So instead of 3 steps. That's not administrative.
Okay. Alan, do you have any comments?
There's no way a different way to do this at all?
Not that I can think of, no, sir.
Okay, here's my comments. I'm not against senior citizen living. It's important to the community. Clearly, but I voted yes for one tonight. I'm sorry, center. Thank you. Center, I'm for all of them, so I'm not against it. I'm just concerned about the location and their ability to follow the process and do it in a way that's constructive to the community, right? So it's almost a great idea and maybe the wrong location right now. That'd be my personal opinion. But that's just my thought. So, Brenda, any more questions for Will real quick from the council?
Well, I do have a question. We talked about, not being on city water, being on Blackland water, meaning they can't, because of the size of the building, can't guarantee fire protection, things like that. You would think that that'd be something that you'd want to have. So kind of walk me through that, why we wouldn't. What's around that?
So it's literally what the code amendment, the International Building Code Amendment that we have adopted, which is just a hard line in terms of 5,000 and up. It requires fire suppression. Below it does not.
But it has to be within 150 feet as the host.
There's always
of a fire hydrant.
Correct.
So
yes.
the fire hydrant would have to have water pressure and capacity for fire suppression.
Which will all be done if it gets approved. We would verify it at plating, and then we would make sure it's doable at plating, and then verify that it actually gets done with the building permit itself. There's ways to get around it by way of having on-site unique systems that are unique to the site itself it's just a costly alternative.
So the other comment I'd like to make to the city council is that they had started the project prior to our annexation in accordance with the county at that time, and now they're being stopped by the city.
Would they not be grandfathered in for construction at that point?
In all candor, I don't believe that they were already in the city.
I mean, if they're in the middle of building a project and we annex them. Okay, thank you.
So, under Chapter 43 of the Texas Local Government Code, there is a continuation of land use provision if the applicant or if the property owner lawfully commenced the process prior to annexation. But that would mean submitting plans and permit applications to the county, and we're not aware that any of that was done. So if they just start a project, that doesn't mean that they have a lawful right to continue upon annexation. It's dependent upon having submitted proper applications and received approvals for the project.
So since they started the project anyway before annexation and they didn't do it for the process, they're not covered by that. Is that a fair assessment?
And I believe they poured the foundation after annexation.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, got it. Okay, any more questions for Will, please? All right.
P&Z really struggled with it.
When did annexation occur on this property?
2016.
What month?
Annexation occurred, I just had it pulled up, in
September. I want to know what that is.
I'll tell you the date of the ordinance. The ordinance was May 15th, 2017.
17. Okay, thank you. Any more questions for Will? All
when,
right, so
when was the concrete pad floor poured?
The question isn't when it was poured. The question is, did they obtain the on-site sewage permit required by the county? Did they obtain other permits required by the county?
And
that's really the question. And was the property platted? Because that's also a requirement at the county.
But isn't that something we can ask the applicant?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to work on that in a second.
That's why I was trying to set us up for answers.
I know. Okay, so let's do this. So Brenda, so I know we got 3 speakers. I know you gave me this crunchy face on 2 of them. So here's what I think I want to do. I want to give everybody a right to speak, but we got to do it in the right order, right? So I'll give the applicant the right to come up and speak now, and the other lady and gentleman, let's have them speak during public hearing comment. Is that what?
Sure. So the 3 speakers before, I'm assuming, were the applicant's presentation.
Okay.
And then you had the staff presentation and questions. Now you'll open the public hearing and allow the public to, any speakers that want to speak.
I know historically we have let the applicant answer questions. So we can allow all 3 to answer questions or just one of them?
You can ask questions to anybody even after the public hearing is closed. So if they want to speak again, I would say let them speak.
It's up to you, how you want to speak, but just remember, name your. Okay, just a second. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:15 p.m. Anybody who would like to speak for or against the project, please come up. Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Candi Pham. I understand that the city has the old drawing for what the building would look like. That was actually when after that we withdrew the information because all the chaos. So we applied last year for the rezoning. We were told not to spend any more money to help the senior citizens save their funds, save all the the donors and the sponsor who funded this future facility. So this is the reason why we did not continue to get to build spend more money on architecture. In fact, the building that you have prior is no longer like that at all. We are actually going to build the top, at least modern contemporary building that's closest, whatever the city requirement, if the city required for us, we'll have that minimum plus more. We have already talked to among the members. We have enough fund through the fundraising. Prior to that, yes, we were going to do in phases because that's what they had. And after we helped them do the fundraising, we have enough fund to begin. They did do, back then, they didn't know to contact the county because they thought it was their land and it did not belong to the city. Therefore, it did not belong part of the city. So they thought that you can just pour the concrete, do what you want, and so forth. That's just about knowledge I was told. So after we approved, then we'll start doing the architectures and whatever the city required of us. It'll be more modern contemporary. It will not be your, I should say, ghetto-looking places. I mean, it'll be more modern contemporary. Where you come in, it's not open to just Lao Senior Citizens. It's open to everyone. So please consider that. Disregard those previous architecture. That's not what we had intent to do, okay?
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Yes, sir. Please come up. Your name and address again, please. Thank you, sir. And speak into the microphone so we can record it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to point out that...
hey, I'm sorry, your name and address real quick.
Maid Ratana, 7610 Kalen Drive in Rowlett, Texas.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to point out the first thing is we start packing, the ground in July 16, and then we start building, we cut grass, cut tree, everything that long before that, because we decide to move over there, and then we start building. We helped build the temple the past 20 years. I was the first among the first to start the temple. We just build anything that they said. We check with the county. They said that okay, you can build anything you want to. That we keep building, same thing like for our center. That's why. And then until we put, and then next step they tell us to wait about a year. So the ground is good. They recommend wait 1 year before we put the foundation. And then in 17 we put the foundation. And then the next step, we put the framework, everything. Now it's stand there. You can see that, maybe 30%, to hold the building, just the structure. We were ready to put the roof and the wall on when we saw the sign from the city. And then we just tell, okay, we're going to do everything they request us to do. We will comply with everything that you want. That's why, we came back, we come to this place here many times, and then we have to spend a lot of money too because we have to check elevation, easement, they reject our original document, so we have to redo everything. We have to spend money on, and then until now, we still don't know what's the outcome. So another point I'd like to point out is some people are concerned that we're going to move out or sell something. In my opinion, there's no way we're going to sell that thing because our charter tells if you dissolve your organization, this is the law. Our bylaw said you have to donate the land to other similar charitable organization, and then. And another thing is, I'd like to point out here, it's we changed the original application, right? The attorney said that this is the second application. This from the recommendation of the city that we changed. They said we will have more chance to do this and that. Everything we done, so it's according to what we are told to do. That's what I highlight. I'd like to point out, this is something that you should know what's going on. So that's our story. So that's all we can tell you. We wish that you can, consider, because you are the one to make your code. We comply with your code, and then you can do whatever you want with your code to let us to be your citizen of your city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sir, you'd like to speak, and then Aaron, you got a couple questions. Aaron, I think.
Yes. I just wanted to fill out some quick.
Hey, I'm sorry. Your name and address.
I'm sorry. I apologize. My name is Peter Salfadera. I live at 10716 Galveston Place, McKinney, Texas, 75071. I just wanted to address a couple concerns as well. When they first originally approached us and said a couple requirements they wanted for the building was that, first of all, they addressed that any buildings that were 5,000 square foot or plus would require enough pressure from the city's water pipeline to be able to provide emergency services. And although our building is less than 5,000 square foot, so that rule technically does not apply to us, we were willing to install an ad hoc fire suppression system if that was acceptable to the city, to have that peace of mind that we are very well equipped to handle the construction and all the legal requirements. The only thing that exists on the land right now is the foundation and the foundation and the frame. We haven't added anything else. Now, we've been waiting for the city to approve, but again, going based on Mr. Will Rugeley's recommendation, we spend no more money or anything like that until we got approved from the P&L committee. And as far as funding, we have a lot of many funders. We raised one event last year where we raised almost $80,000 in one night. We already have pledged for another $200,000 in donations from many vendors and many sponsors. The community around the U.S. is hearing about our community center, and they know it's very much supported. We have a lot of outside sponsors people from out of state. So there are many communities are wanting to move over here because of the close proximity to the center, the Seniors Activity Center, and the temple that's already existing there. So there's a lot of business coming out here, and we already have a lot of Lao professionals, business owners that live out here in the Fate and Rockwell area. We have many doctors and dentists who open up offices here as well, too. This is an opportunity for us to continue growing the city, can increase bring more multicultural to the city as well too. And I just wanted to address the perception of lack of funding. That we have a lot of lack of funding. If you guys gave us permission today to begin, we can have the complete building finished in no time. So funding is not going to be an issue.
Okay, hey, sir, just sit right there if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
You have some questions? Somebody had asked the question, so
absolutely.
I just picked you since you're the last person standing.
I did want to ask a clarifying question. What currently is on the property? And it sounds like you just clarified. It's a concrete pad plus a metal frame building only, no skin. It's just
no
frame.
Skin, no nothing else. The only thing is the foundation is already laid out and set up, and just a metal frame. That's it. We're waiting on advice from the city hall of what you recommend to put in. Obviously, from what I understand, there's absolutely no legal requirements for us to listen to what you were saying, but we did all this in good faith. We decided to put everything on hold, and whatever supplies that we need to match whatever the city has planned for the greater plan for the city, we're willing to follow that. Or even we even suggested that if the concern is that 20, 30 years later someone's going to build a strip mall out there, we were willing to sign some sort of agreement saying that if in the event that the center was to be sold to somewhere else, that the next purchaser would be required to serve it as a senior activity center. We were willing to make that. We offer that, and obviously, I don't know if that's still acceptable. I'm not a legal expert, but we've tried on many times on our part to make the city happy and to alleviate any of their concerns by the fire suppression system. You name it. As far as any contracts, anything that we would be required to sign as an organization to make sure that the activity center remains an activity center, even long after we're dead and gone.
Got it. Okay.
So what I hear is that we cannot deed restrict the land.
From my understanding, yes.
Any more questions for the applicant by chance? All right, so make sure, because I did drive out there today, right? So the building right now sits pretty deep in the property, actually. I had to walk pretty decent amount of time to get there, right? So are we going to put a road there? I mean, how are you going to access the building?
Well, as far as accessing the building, it's not very that deep. I mean, I would say, and this is only recalling from memory, from the entrance from the road to there, it's no longer than the distance from here to the flagpole.
Okay.
So it's not deep hidden in the property.
So you're going to build a road there, right?
Yeah, we're planning on building a parking lot. We're planning on the rest of the foundation. We're going to build the parking lot, roads, easy access to it. So as far as accessibility, I don't see that becoming an issue.
Got it. Thank you. That's what I thought there was okay. Thank you for that. Any more questions for the applicant, for the council? All right. Anybody else like to speak for or against this application?
Mayor Pro Tem, I have 2 statements to be read into the record in lieu of attendance.
On this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First being from William Reed, 401 Hickory Lane. Good evening, Mr. Doan and Mr. Palmer. Thank you for taking the time to once again appear in front of the governing body here in Fate. It's my sincere hope that the City Council will do the right thing on this one. The applicant is simply asking for an amendment to the FLUP from an agricultural district to neighborhood commercial district to build a senior center for the community. I would believe that a senior center would be perfect considering what we are planning to do in the downtown area and what Mr. Combs plans to put in place. I know that this is not the ideal location for a community center, and there are concerns from P&Z and city staff on what will happen if the center goes away, but honestly, this should not be a concern for a couple of reasons. This land was gifted to these folks for the sole purpose of building a community center. Not sure if there is language in the deed that restricts what the group can do with the property, but I would almost be certain that there is limitations on what these folks can do on the land. The beautiful temple right down the road is not going anywhere, and it is an attraction that brings the community together, and it is not going anywhere anytime soon. I could be wrong, but I believe this land was gifted prior to the City of Fate annexing this tract into the city limits, and quite possibly the work commenced prior to the annexation, but unfortunately there is a language barrier and a series of misunderstandings that have left these folks confused in the bureaucratic process. I would be willing to bet if this development received the same attention some of the other developments have received, they would be well on their way to building something that will add value to our community by bringing in people to shop and possibly move here. If the only argument the P&Z had was in regards to the conflict with the FLUP, I challenge you to recall the Encore substation that is being built right across the huge residential area. Why was that an acceptable exception to the FLUP? Or how about the Montara development you guys will vote on here soon? Is it acceptable to modify the FLUP for that development? A final thought for you to consider. Do you really want to be the group that shoots down a positive development like a senior support center, but made an exception for a hideous Encore substation or bellied up on a light industrial complex? Thank you for all you guys do. I know it is tough, but I respect each and every one of you for this service to our community.
Next, please. Next, please.
Okay. This one is from Heather Bellamy, address 221 Cedar Drive. I would like to enter objection to this agenda item for the reasons that the Planning and Zoning Committee mentioned in their staff summaries. We would like to keep the rural and estate zoning as described in the FLUP in our community to help maintain the small town feel that the citizens have asked the city and the city council to preserve. If this project is indeed not as tax positive as another project or the current zoning due to taxable status of the applicant, this project should be rejected by the City Council.
Okay. Any other ones? That's it. Okay. Anybody else want to speak for or against this application? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:29. All right, so I got a couple of questions, Brenda, for you to make sure I get the procedures correctly tonight. Okay, so this is a two-step process the council has to vote on. First is going to change to the future land use plan, right?
Yes.
To neighborhood commercial district, correct?
Yes.
And then if that passes, we go to zoning, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Since P&Z rejected this I'll try not to be snarky. Reject the application to council, we require a supermajority vote, which is 6 out of 7.
That's correct.
So for tonight, we need a unanimous vote.
That's correct.
Okay. And we get a...
I believe that... I need Will. I don't believe that the future land use plan amendment would require a 3/4 vote.
But the zoning would.
Yeah, so that would be a majority vote on the future land use plan amendment, but the zoning would take a 3/4 vote, which would be a unanimous 6 votes.
And in all fairness, I want to make sure we're open and fair, right? So
yes.
President John Stacy was recommending, I guess, through his email to us that we find some way to making this work, right? I think that was his intent of the P&Z, if I want to quote him correctly.
I think it's difficult to say no to this group.
Yeah, I'm with you. I understand that. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so council understands what we got to do tonight in the process. Okay, open discussion.
I would like a point of clarification because I cannot figure it out from the future land use plan. Where is this property on the future land use plan? So I can see it, because I can't seem to find it.
May I approach?
Yes.
You may.
No, we're Mickey Dude from there.
That's an appropriate question these days.
It is. Like, I don't know what to say on that, actually.
Yeah.
It just fits this year somehow.
Did you touch something? Do we need to discuss?
No. All right. Any more questions, comments from the council?
One of the things that keeps sticking in my head is that they, even though it wasn't correctly bureaucratically filed with the county, they started construction and had plans for this prior to our annexation to this.
Yeah.
And that's what really sticks with me. I think if it was something that came up, last year, we'd be having a different conversation for sure than, this is a church organization trying to do something for their congregation.
And it was a full year before annexation even occurred.
Right.
Yes and no. I mean,
Well, yes,
to be fair,
yes,
the
they
process takes about 6 or 7 months from when we start it to when it's completed.
But
So,
to the point, if they would have filed the application, they've been grandfathered in, right? They just didn't file the application. They just went ahead. So they would have done the paperwork, per se. They've been grandfathered in, correct?
right, I looked to see whether they had the right to continue under Chapter 43,
Right.
and I don't find that
Okay.
any procedures were followed.
But it's still our the council's decision. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Here's my concern. So, like I said before, not against it. I have really mixed emotions since we need a unanimous vote tonight, at least on the zoning. I can be persuaded probably on this one, but I think they're trying to do the right thing. I don't think our county process are interested on a good day, right? I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth. Lance, your point of it's going to fit that area is true. I drove out there this afternoon, so I don't disagree with that. So, I don't know. We'll see.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah, I have one more question for you, Jay.
I just I checked with Will, and because the P&Z could not get past the future land use plan amendment, we didn't discuss this option. But if there are 6 who want to continue, and I don't want to put anybody in a bad spot, I would recommend that if you rezone it, that you do it with a PD for neighborhood commercial with the only permitted use as a senior amenity center or a senior recreation center.
That's what I asked you earlier, and they said no.
Yeah, just
I didn't hear that.
I said, is there any
way?
Is there any other way that we could make this happen?
Right.
Well,
Yes, me.
okay, sorry.
That's right. You were sitting down, and Will was up there. But yeah.
Okay. So, yes,
They offered. I mean, I know the gentleman can speak for the landowner or not.
It
but
sounds like that's functionally a deed restriction because if they do sell said property, it's essentially right because you control what is done.
The requirement of the PD would be the submittal of a concept plan.
Okay, but they did.
If that's the direction that you want to go, what I would encourage you to do, because they're correct, Will asked them or suggested that they not spend more money on architecture services because this was such an uphill battle and because the P&Z had dealt with it several times and struggled with the comprehensive plan issue. If you have a desire and there's a likelihood that the property would be rezoned, might suggest that you table it to allow them to bring forward the concept plan showing you what it is they intend to build. That would then be a part of the PD process and would give you additional information about what they're saying in a professional form so that you could see what it is that they're proposing.
Okay.
But this suggestion is a way to move forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the applicant, real quick, if you don't mind, I don't know who wants to speak to this. I got a couple of questions for you. So I think you offered, or the gentleman offered, an agreement, which was called PD here, right? The Plan Development Agreement. Are you guys willing to sit with our city attorney and staff and go and create one for us so we can find a path forward?
What was the question again?
So to have an agreement just for this use and that zoning, it's called a PD, or a Plan Development Agreement.
Okay.
You get to sit down in writing contractually and obligate yourself to have that building built to some standards, but only for one use. Now, a use would be senior amenity center or senior recreation center, whatever you guys call it, right? And you got to pay to get a concept plan done professionally. Okay, and then bring that back to council as a PD and a concept plan, and then the council can, if I understand council right, they're trying to find a path forward for you, right? I think that's what we're trying to do tonight, right?
Yes, I agree. When we already spoke to several architecture,
Okay.
they're already on board. Well, of course, when you have architecture, you got to have the engineering involved. They can coordinate that with the cities and so forth. And like we mentioned, it's not anything like the temple. It's just a modern commercial building.
Right.
You know, you have whatever standards the cities are. So we have our architectures on board. Everything's ready to go. We just need approval so we can proceed.
Well,
with the
you won't
rest.
get so here's what we're asking, the nuance, right? Is you're not going to get approval tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What you're going to get is agreement from us to work with you, and we're going to try to make a better process for you. Okay, I've asked Michael to make sure we do it. We get a good process in place for you to create a concept plan, and then Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Then our attorney will give you a proposed plan development. You have to get your own attorney, and you review that, and you bring both back to council, right? So we'll come back to council with a PD. We can consider plus a concept plan. At that point, you'll get approval to go forward. Does that make sense?
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
you can't say that.
Well, I'm sorry. We'll take a vote, but I'm sorry. But we'll take a vote, but you get my threat. Okay. So that's the process. I want to make sure you understand that, and we don't have any more misunderstandings tonight or going forward.
Yes, anything since, like we said, we have been delayed since 2016. We have been delayed. Anything to help us expedite. A lot of sponsors had already donated their money. Of course, they want to see, the
Of course.
actions and
Yeah,
so
sure,
forth.
of course.
This wouldn't have to go back to PNC.
It should come straight to council, right? And we would just need the supermajority vote still on this, Brenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So so we want to, I just want to make, here, I'm being over paranoid, and I apologize, ma'am. I want to make sure you understand, right? So you're going to get a concept plan. We're going to give you a proposed legal agreement.
Correct.
You'll get a concept plan, the architecture. You'll get an attorney.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
Your attorney will review it. Brenda knows lots of attorneys in the area, so when they'll exchange language, you get it done, and you bring both back to council, and the council will consider that one.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Brenda, did I cover that correctly?
Yes.
You trained me well.
So,
Yes. And Tamara
the
just...
only question is,
I'm sorry.
you would need to table it to a specific date that's far enough in advance to give them the opportunity to develop a concept plan. Staff will have to give them the checklist of all of the requirements for those items to be submitted. So,
Well, Will, how long do you need? Will shaking his head.
Yes, all we need.
Okay, so August, what meeting?
August is good.
Do you have an August date, Michael, for a meeting? The middle of August, give her more time, just gives you some time.
Vicki probably has it.
And Tamara, we'll get to you in a second. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, and I don't want any more misunderstandings between the parties.
Does the shot clock play into this at all?
August 3rd.
August 3rd. Okay. Ian, you had a question, then Tamara had a question.
Let me just throw this out there. Is there really even a need to do a PD zoning district? If there is perhaps an intention to seriously consider approving it, because the intent behind the PD district would be presumably to have some sort of architectural standards, or at least so that they're known. However, we can't enforce architectural standards by way of zoning ordinances anymore.
Yeah, but
We can do articulation, vertical and horizontal.
right, and we can say there's a single use, right?
That's the whole purpose of this.
It's a
PD,
single
is to
use.
is to put it to the single use.
Okay.
All right, and now
So, why don't we just approve the zoning, or just approve it, approve a plan development zoning district with approve a plan development zoning district with the only authorized use being senior center.
Because, sorry, I have a loud voice, but I think Vicki wants this for the record. But a PD requires a concept plan to be approved, correct?
It does.
Yes. So I would think that before you approve a PD with zoning on this property, you would want to see actually what the development looks like. That's why I suggested that they do the concept plan and bring it forward, and then you can make a decision about the zoning.
I think the basic concept plan is provided.
Well, but they've said that the elevations have completely changed.
Tamara, you had a question? I'm sorry.
So I have a couple questions. David, you were talking about, possible options, and so was Brenda, but we decided as a council that is our only option. We can't vote on it tonight. And then my next thing was that they have already been delayed since 2017, and a lot of that was based on Will's advice, which I think it was good advice.
So I'm going to disagree with that. Will's advice to them after they withdrew was not to spend the money to change it. But the year and a half preceding that, there was an inability to communicate with their representatives, complete inability. And Will asked them to get someone who could bridge that gap, and it took that long. So I don't think the city is responsible for any kind of a delay.
I'm not saying that they're responsible for a delay. I think you do your job well, Will. I'm just saying that if they knew this whole time they needed to have drawings done so that we could see them tonight so that they could move forward more quickly, then they would have done that. And because they didn't do that, now we're saying we should delay them even further.
A couple of things. One is August is not that much of a delay. Two, in view of a unanimous P&Z recommendation for denial, I don't think anybody could read the tea leaves that the council was going to have 6 votes to overturn that recommendation. That was very unusual in the city of Fate. So I think given the way that P&Z handled it the 4 times that they saw it, I think it's come forward as quickly as it can. If you have a desire to move forward to amend the future land use plan and change the zoning, I think the best way to do that would be to have them submit a concept plan, let us draft a PD ordinance with some architectural standards that gives you the comfort that it's going to be a positive aesthetic contribution to the community. Huh?
Hey, Michael, so the uneasiness that I'm quoting people wrong here, but if I to correct me, is that generally we want to try to find a way tonight, and then number 2, I think another delay, right? Was just, I get it. Right. So if we do this, we table tonight August 3rd. We've got to make sure we kind of get this through, right?
Right. So the other alternative, just on behalf of the staff, it would present some risk to the way the building looked. But you could, if you had 6 votes, you could approve the zoning tonight. They'd have no delays, and we wouldn't spend any more time on this.
Yeah, but how do we make sure they get a building that consistent with what we're trying to do out there?
Yeah. And how do you keep once it's neighborhood commercial, it's neighborhood commercial.
Yeah, I like
neighborhood commercial.
Yeah, I like the idea.
It's a straight zoning district.
Yeah, I like the idea of a single use, right? That would get my personal opinion. That would get my vote tonight. If we could do a single use on that we can sort it out later during the comp plan process. I think, Ian, you had a question about shot clock, right? No shot clock.
I just want a clarification on that, just to understand clearly. Thank you.
They could bring forward a preliminary plat at the same time that they bring forward their zoning.
Right.
At their risk, but they could.
What do you guys want to do? It's up to the council tonight. I mean, we can, if we vote on the 2 steps, we get 6 votes, then we're taking the risk they're going to build what they want to build, and that's not single use. If we delay a little bit until August 3rd, they'll come back with a simple PD, right? Very simple PD, maybe a page or two, and then we can limit to a single use, and then we can proceed carefully, right? And that's what I think the choice tonight we have tonight, the two choices. Ma'am, you want to speak? Ma'am, I'm sorry. This has to be recorded because never know. And your name and address again, please.
I know this is a city of faith.
Hey, ma'am. Name and address again.
Candi
Sorry.
Fam, 4109 Clay Avenue, Halton City.
Sorry.
76117. I know this is a city of faith, but can you just have faith in us? We are not going to be building something. With all that investment, we've been in, like you said, 3 years delay.
Right.
We are not going to be building something that will be not impressive to the city. Somehow today, by faith, it took me around the whole city of faith. And you know, I feel like God's took me to this whole area, and I see all this beauty in here. Why did I get lost? Maybe avoid the riot, maybe have a protest. I come all the way from Halton City. It's an hour and a half for me, going from 4 o'clock. I didn't even get here until 6 because I want to defend my senior citizen who works so hard in here. We are not going to be building something that the city is not going to like. It is more modern. Like we said, 3-4 years, we raised our fund. We did everything according to the city. We came to the hearing. We did everything you guys asked us to do, like Mr. Met has says. But I feel that give them a chance. Give us an opportunity. If this was you, this is your parents, your senior. They don't have that many years. I hope you know that he's over 80 years old. We have members up to 110 years old. Their whole dream is see the legacy. This is their dream. We are not going to be building something that you drive by, you're going to say, oh no, I can't believe this is happening to our city. I wouldn't want to expect that too. Like I said, we have raised enough fund. We're ready to go. We just want no more delay. We don't want to go through all this concept. But what I'm willing to do, because I thought that was my only route, I already have an architecture ready to go. We're going to build is a modern contemporary. It's stucco and so forth. Since we have the foundation already and the framework, they're going to modify according to that. But just please have faith in us. We are not going to be building something that keep delaying us and then thinking that you're going to have some kind of shingle roof that's just going to fly by. Just a shack. It's not going to be a shack.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, what's the will of the council? We have two options. You've heard the two options. So
We can direct city staff to bring it forward sooner than August 3rd if everything is ready to go.
If it's ready to go, correct? Or
if it comes July or
will they have
June.
They have to.
Correct. There is no shortcuts. If they comply with the city process and they're ready before August 3rd, we can definitely hear it sooner than that. Correct?
So yes, you can. So what I would encourage you to do is pick the date that they feel like they can have everything for you, and then. And we're doing this so we don't have to renotice it. If they are not ready by that date, then you could table it to a date certain.
All right.
Then. So you can table it to your next meeting.
Alan?
It just needs to be tabled to a specific
Just a second. Alan?
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay.
He may answer my question.
So, of course, I'm going to use the alternate. Based on what I'm hearing from our staff, our concerns, I'm just going to summarize what I think is, they're not going to make the deadline. We're going to go through this. They're not going to be able to hit all the requirements of the plats and so forth. And I think we're going to be back here again, doing this again, and we'll have to table it again. They're going to be delayed again. They have to spend more money. Eventually, if we get to November, we're going to have potentially different council members. So we're just trying to put. If we can put this to bed, we could really. Get on to things
can we
like
not
comp
vote with conditions?
You can, but understand that if you make it a PD, they have to have a concept plan approved. It'll have to come forward anyway.
Can't we approve a PD subject to a concept plan at a future date?
Yes, you can, but they still have to do it, and you won't have any knowledge. Once the PD is approved, if the concept plan meets the minimum requirements of an ordinance, you are required to approve it. So your discretion lies at the zoning level when you have an idea about what they want to present. And frankly, part of the problem at the staff level has been trying to get an understanding and a commitment about what was going to be constructed, built, all of that. This is my recommendation, if you want to move forward, is to do a PD at the time that you have a concept plan, because they're going to have to do it anyway, and they'll have to start their preliminary plat anyway. None of this will be delayed by tabling it to a date where you can have a concept plan and consider a planned development district.
Well, my take is we trust the staff on a lot of things. I say we just vote on it, subject to a PD approval based on the staff working their magic.
Staff doesn't have that kind of legal authority, but it's certainly up to you all.
Well, if we approve it, they do, don't they?
No. The standards would be what the standards are.
Alan?
Like I said before, my biggest thing is just a single use. I don't believe that they're going to build, like she said. I mean, it's, the state took away our ability to enforce any UDOs anyway. So, I mean, the PD is going to be the PD, and the PD is just pretty much going to be single use.
So are you suggesting we vote tonight or vote on table it? I'm trying to get a sense of what we're going to do tonight, because we need to do something.
Well, is there a legal way that we can approve a PD tonight?
Well, I think Lance was proposing approve the land use and land use and zoning with conditions. That's,
yeah.
I think, is that to include a PD. Brenda, let's just hang it. Okay. John, what's your thoughts?
I just have one concern, just like Brenda said. I understand they're going to build something really nice. I get that. But I think we do need to see the concept. Honestly do. So
if we approve it tonight, we can ask to come out of the concept plan, but we have no legal right to do anything with besides see the concept plan, right?
Fair enough.
You know what I'm saying?
Good point.
I mean, I think
good point.
I think the concern that I have is it's been a long time, right? It's 2017, this plan fits this year for some reason. It's so weird, but you know what I'm saying? That's what I think we're trying to start with. How do we let them move forward and maybe do have a little faith? So,
if you look in the packet, there's really a site concept and a site plan already in there, just not including including what the physical outside stuff is. Right now it says it's stucco and some metal building, right?
Yeah.
And so it's there. So I mean, I have an idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Okay.
I just
Tamara, your question?
I feel prepared to vote tonight.
Okay. We do realize on the zoning, just make sure we're on the same page, right? It's 6-0 tonight because we need a supermajority, right? So I'm not discouraging us. We'll hold the vote, but I just want to make sure we understand that.
And if it fails, they can't come back for a year.
Right.
And I say we need to do what we can to let them move forward.
So our options are just go straight up like it was proposed, or put some conditions to it.
Yeah, I think, so here's what I think we would do. Bruno, so first thing we would do, the future land use plan, that's a majority vote. So that could be 5-1 we went to, right? If that passes, we would go to zoning, if I understand correctly and wrote it down correctly. That requires a 6-0 vote, but we zoning with conditions of a concept plan and a PD, right? But that would have no basic legal requirement or enforceable of it, but they would have to work with the applicant anyway, right? So we would just lose our ability to manage it, but we would just basically acting on faith that they're going to do the right thing for the community and for us and for their people. That's what I think their play has been tonight to us, right? So does it make sense? Did I do that correctly? Okay. All right, so let's do one. Step one would be, I'll take a motion to amend the future land use plan from agricultural district to neighborhood commercial district. I'm going to write this down now.
I make a motion that we approve the zoning approve the future land use property from a agriculture to neighborhood commercial.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilor Hamilton. I got a second by Councilman Megacy. We're going to do this the opposite way. So, Councilman Megacy, please.
Yes.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Robbins. Sorry.
Yes.
Councilman Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fisher. Sorry. And I will vote yes. Okay, the motion passes 6-0. All right, second motion, I believe, is we need to do the zoning change, right, from agricultural district to neighborhood commercial district, right, with the condition of a PD be created between the city and the applicant, and not.
That's up to
I'm,
whoever makes the motion.
well, I know. I'm just laying it out right now. What I heard, they can amend it all they want. With a suggestion, I heard that they would have a PD and whatever amendments they want. So I'll take a motion on the zoning change. Remember, this is 6-0 vote required. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve sorry, which one was it? There it is. Yes.
Yeah.
ZR 19003 with the specific condition of a PD with single use of a senior activity center.
And that doesn't include a concept plan or not?
Well, it would require.
Okay, right.
With a concept plan.
Okay.
Single use senior
Vicky?
activity center.
Are we good on that?
Yes, I have a motion to approve case ZR 19-003 with specific condition that PD single use of senior activity center with a concept plan.
So I need to understand whether that motion means that the concept plan in your packet is also approved, or whether there's a concept plan to come.
I'm fine with the concept plan in the packet.
I just needed a motion so that staff knows
Okay.
how to process this.
Vicky, did you grab that? Okay, great. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Robbins. I have a second by Councilman Megacy. Any more questions, comments, clarifications? Vicky, are we good to go? Good. All right. Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Hamilton, sorry.
Yes.
Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Megacy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion passes 6-0. So you can go forward. All right, do a good job for us, please. Okay. All right, so this is part of the agenda. Michael, do you want to say something?
I was just going to say, just to clarify, there's still multiple, they've got their zoning, they're
Okay.
still plating and so forth, and
Okay.
we've got to figure out fire protection and so forth. So
We have faith in you to do that for us. All right, this is the part of the agenda we discussed earlier. We're going to go into executive session. I'm going to call us an executive session at 7:49. Pursuant to
551.071.
Pursuant to 551.71. 071.
Consultation with the city attorney regarding the Montara development.
Consultation with the city attorney regarding the Montana development at, I guess now it's 7:59 still. Council, we're going to meet upstairs in social distancing, right? Vicky, we good?
Yes, sir.
All right. City Council back into session at 9:08. All right, just for the record, what we're going to do tonight, and this is per the agreement with developing the voting, we're going to have 4 public hearings, right? One on the residential Montero application, a second public hearing for the tech park, a third public hearing for the residential PID, the fourth public hearing for the commercial PID, and then we're going to have one vote that covers all the action items of all the applications from 60 all the way through 61 all the way through 6012, all right? Okay? Everybody understand what we're going to do? So we'll, okay. All right. Brenda. Michael, do we start without Brenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right, next, please.
Okay. So item 6D, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding Montara-related items. So first, we will talk about item 1, FLUP amendment, item 2, zoning request, item 3, concept plan, and item 4, preliminary plat.
Okay. I'm going to call a public hearing for general items 61, 62, 63, and 64. The time is 9:10. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak for or against the application? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. My name is Casey Ross. I work for Kimley Horn & Associates. My work address is 6160 Warren Parkway, Suite 210 in Frisco, even though I haven't been there in 2.5 months.
Hey, sir, just one quick question.
Yes, sir.
So you're going to speak for the applicant, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay,
for the
can you,
applicant.
one of the questions by the public has been, if you can briefly, in 30 seconds or a minute, explain the Chinese firewall between yourself and our representative, our city engineer, which also works for Kimley Horn.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Okay. The question in the public is, our city engineer and you work for the same engineering firm, Kimberly Horn, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the Chinese firewall between you and our engineer?
I work with Will Rusley, and Will disseminates whatever questions I have to the consulting engineer for him, which is Kimley Horn.
Okay, so you have internal procedures and processes, make sure that
Yes,
you
sir.
don't conspire or whatever proper word I'm supposed to be
Absolutely.
using tonight?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure it's clear. That did come up in some discussions with the public. I just want to make sure we address it tonight. So thank you
Yes.
very much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
We're not even in the same office, different cities, all that good stuff.
Okay, thank you.
So if you would give me just a couple minutes to
Sure.
briefly run through.
This is the public hearing we stepped up to, so this is the public hearing, so he can do it here. I'm fine.
Sorry, can I go, or do you want me to
Yeah,
wait?
no, go ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm going to let it go. I'm letting it go.
Okay.
Do your thing.
So just a brief introduction, the Montara development, the residential portion. This is the original application. I just wanted to show this to you guys for brief history. This was the application, the residential application that was made in September of 2016. 231 total acres, which is what we still currently have on the project. It had 749 residential lots at 40 foot in width, and then it had 725 multifamily units. Over the course of time, history, you guys probably know the story better than me. We've now ended up with this residential site plan, and our current application was made in October of last year, 2019. Same, 231 total acres. We have 235 lots now, so we've reduced the density from 730 odd lots and multifamily down to 235 residential lots, half acres. And then this was approved by P&Z back in February. We met with Mr. Wheeler, who is one of the property owners to our east. Made some concessions for him on screening on Ben Payne, and that's the story in a nutshell on the residential. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Alan, you had a question?
Yeah, during the planning and zoning process, there was mentioned the direction that Ben Payne runs, making sure that stays fully on this, your all's right, the right-of-way is on your all's property, as opposed to running northeast up through somebody else's eventually.
Correct, yes. We have made that adjustment on this site plan. The right-of-way is on us completely. It is not on Mr. Wheeler's property.
Well, it had nothing to do with Mr. Wheeler. It had to do with going up, what was the gentleman? The Nolan, through the Nolan property at some point.
You'd have to tell me where the Nolan property is.
I think the issue was that the exhibit in the development agreement is the January 2020 plat, not the plat after the P&Z meeting.
Okay.
So that's there's a concern that the plat that's in the agreement doesn't reflect the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
We'll gladly send it to you, but the most current plat that we have matches this drawing, which shows the right-of-way completely on us.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any more questions on the residential part? Well, we're going to have to break up a little bit here.
Sure.
Because I kind of messed this up.
Yes.
So, any more questions on the residential part? All right, well, let me just close the public hearing, and then we'll do the right order this time. So,
Okay.
Anybody else want to speak for or against the application, please?
Yes, I do
Okay.
have written comments in lieu of attendance.
Go ahead.
Written comment from Heather Bellamy, address 221 Cedar Drive. This would be for agenda items, actually includes the industrial area as well, 1 through 12, 61 through 12. Statement says, I fully expect items 1 through 12 to pass, as though there are no options on the settlement agreement despite community objection, to which I, again, raise objections previously raised and contained herein. On behalf of SAID, I request the following statement by former Mayor Lauren Magacy on Nextdoor.com be again read into record. Quote, New Montara subdivision. This next week there is a city council meeting on Monday, and then Thursday is a P&Z meeting with an agenda item for a proposed new subdivision called Montara Ranch. This is a culmination of a 4-year lawsuit that was filed on the city for an annexation case where a developer tried to get a plat filed under the county ETJ rules. The county and city standards are two totally different standards. As mayor at the time, I was willing to fight this developer to save our northern rural way of life and not bring in another subdivision just for the sake of bringing in more people into the city. We put in an annexation plan to prevent developers from doing just what they are trying to do right now. With advice from the city attorney, I felt we had a good case and would prevail if this went to court. The worst that would happen is the city would be forced to sign the plat, which included 4,000 square feet lots, and the city would not be forced to give the developer a PID or waive any fees or be forced to allow the subdivision sewer access into the Wood Creek system. The cost to the developer to build what he submitted would have been so costly that he never would have built it. Last September, the council approved a settlement agreement to the lawsuit and was signed by Mayor Berger. We have finally been given a chance to review that settlement for the Montara Ranch project, and the city might have handed over the keys to the city. Not only does the developer get a PID on both properties, but all application fees will be waived, and if this includes impact fees on a subdivision this size, we will be in the millions. This developer doesn't build homes, but gets property entitled and then flips his property. The developer gets a PID, sewer, water, only to put in part of Ben Payne Road, and can build 200 plus homes, as well as the light industrial area, which is supposed to be a rural area. City gets the cost of the sewer lift station, has to purchase private land to move the Ben Payne Road, possible eminent domain. Citizens will now be saddled with another PID, more traffic down Ben Payne and Highway 66. Change to the thoroughfare plan, future land use plan, sewer and water plans. Ask yourself, how many millions of dollars will this deal cost the city? This goes to P&Z on Thursday, then to City Council on March 2nd. It is all but approved and just needs to go through the motion of public hearings. Mayor Berger, why would you have signed the settlement when it's going to be a very bad deal for the city? Just so we wouldn't have litigation costs? This deal will cost the city millions of dollars in infrastructure costs alone, lost revenue from fees, and more traffic hitting our overcrowded streets. City Council, I implore you to reject this settlement and fight for the citizens you represent, end quote. Heather Bellamy asks, can you please explain the details regarding the offer of $1 million donation that was discussed by the Huffines Group, Mr. Mabry, and City Manager Michael Kovacs as it relates to this project settlement agreement or a downtown park? Was this offered to obtain the deal known as Montara Project? I would like to enter into record an unofficial poll that has been posted since February 19th by Andy Reid on Nextdoor.com regarding these agenda items. While unofficial, there have been discussions regarding this project, and this is likely This is a likely representation of consensus among the community. As of 3 p.m. today, there were 147 respondents, and the results are as follows. Nay to residential and industrial, 39%. Table until more data is provided, 38%. Yay to both residential and industrial, 11%. Yay residential, nay industrial, 7%. Yay industrial, nay residential, 5%. Why would you ignore the will of the citizens in which you derive your powers and for whom you represent? The reasoning seems to be a cost analysis for litigation, which could potentially cost an additional $70,000 to $80,000 based on public records. From 2017 to 2020, the Montara matter cost the city $19,840 in attorney fees paid to Messer, Fort, and McDonald. For reference, the full billable sum for all legal matters before the city was, by my calculations, $658,013.03 for the same time period. If this settlement agreement is not in the city's future best interests, litigation costs appear nominal. Based on lack of community support and concerns regarding the infrastructure, and taxpayers will be burdened with bearing the cost of including paying for roads, eminent domain, tying into Wood Creek sewage, etc. We ask that you choose to listen to the taxpayers and choose to litigate if necessary and fight for the citizens who you represent and serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Oh.
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Okay, I'll close the public hearing at 9:21. All right, the next item we're going to talk about is the tech park, which is the general. I'm sorry, Vicki, it's your job. Sorry, go next, please.
Okay, so this will be item 6D, item 5, which is the FLUP amendment, 6, which is a zoning request, 7, the concept plan, and 8, preliminary plat.
All right, now we're going to do it correctly. Applicant, up the presentation, please. That's what happened when Brenda leaves the room. I got to do it wrong.
Good evening. Casey Ross, Kimley Horn, 6160 Warren Parkway, Suite 210 in Frisco, Texas, representing the owner. This is the original Montara Tech Park plan before you tonight. The application was submitted in September of 2016, 54 total acres. What I wanted to point out to you today is that the site plan is in essence unchanged since the first application. This one is the current application made in October of 19 of last year, 54 total acres again, and P&Z approved this one back in February. I do have a couple of, went too fast. Just some pictures for you guys to see what the end product, what we envision as being the end product for the tech park.
So, any questions? I have one question. So this looks like a lot like the Rockwall Technical Park, right? That's
Yes,
your
sir.
basically that's a
Yes.
fair analysis. Okay, I always assumed that it would be a smaller industrial park now with 30,000-foot warehouses and things like that. So when we first proposed it, that's what I thought. At least in my mind's eye, right? That's what I thought we were going to have. So your proposal more of a Rockwallian type of development.
I don't remember the exact square footage of the units out here.
I think one's 30,000 square feet. I think, yeah,
Probably
something like
sounds
that.
right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Any more questions? Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Pretty straight. Easy. All right. I'd like to call the public hearing to start at 9:23. And I have at 9:23, anybody would like to speak for or against the application, please step forward.
And this is for 6.
So that's, sorry, 65, 66, 67, and 68. If I can count right.
Yes.
Okay, I can count right tonight. Vicki, do we have anything?
I do, sir.
Is it, just a question, is it the same exact statement we had from the previous one?
It is not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I do have someone that signed up to speak. Ryan Joyce, address 1189 Waters Edge Drive.
Okay. Hello. Sorry for the wait.
Oh, you're good.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. Like I was mentioned, my name is Ryan Joyce. I do currently live at 1189 Waters Edge Drive in Rockwall, Texas. In full disclosure, I actually am a developer myself. I own a property directly across the street.
Thank you for doing
from
that.
where this is located at. I also own a property adjacent to this to the north. The property that I'm developing is actually 1 acre and acre and a half lots with lot prices ranging from $130,000 to $180,000. This project has not affected my sales whatsoever. We're still above projections on where sales are supposed to be for where we're at right now. So I'm really not coming at this from a concern of my property and what I'm trying to do. I'm really coming at this as a concern as a future homeowner in the area. This lawsuit started somewhere. This group that sat here before you, this group, I have no idea where it came from, but it started somewhere. And it started because this is not what fate's about. This is not what this area is meant to be. About 18 months ago, when I was looking for properties to develop in this area, I talked to David and Lynn Parker. And they own 42 acres, just a little bit further to the north, at the intersection of the Clem Road extension and 3549, kind of right next to where the castle's at. After several failed attempts and discussions or trying to discuss with the city, I was told that this area could receive nothing less than 5 acre residential lots. I was trying to do acre and a half, 2 acre, 2.75 acre lots, and I was just able to get no traction on anything, so I kind of had to abandon the project. One of my major concerns about this light industrial park are the trucks on the road. Currently just north of State Highway 66 along FM 3549, the TxDOT website labels about 1,500 trips per day just north of 66. A little bit further north at FM 552 and FM 3549, there's just under 1,200 trips a day per the TxDOT website. Now you're talking about putting 54 acres of light industrial with a 2-lane road. Currently, TxDOT's expanding 3549 just up to 66, and then it transitions away, back down to 2 lanes. Now, there is future right-of-way that's being dedicated. I'm dedicating right-of-way. I'm sure these guys are dedicating right-of-way as well in order for an expansion. But when that happens, nobody knows. So now you've got 18-wheelers, you've got trucks on a 2-lane farm-to-market road where if something goes wrong, there's nowhere for those guys to go. Nowhere. It was mentioned just a few minutes ago that these buildings appear to resemble the Rockwall Tech Park that is located on 3549 just south of Highway 30 or Interstate 30, which I would agree, this is very similar. But if we were to look at an aerial of that area, you've got a 4-lane divided road with the median with future expansion capabilities up to 6 lanes. Turn lanes in place, there's a stoplight to turn into the tech park. The infrastructure is there in that location. This location has no infrastructure for this type of development. Lastly, I wanted to talk just a few minutes or a few seconds about the site plan. This site plan, if you add up all the buildings, comes to just about 500,000 square feet. 500,000 square feet. To put that into perspective, the Walmart just up the road in Royce City is about 125,000 square feet. Just measuring the roof line on Google Earth, it's about 125,000 square feet. You're talking about 4 Walmarts. Now, granted, it's not going to receive the traffic Walmart's going to receive. I concede that. But you're talking about putting the square footage of 4 Walmarts on a 2-lane road 2 miles off of Interstate 30. I don't feel like this is what this area is meant to be. I don't feel like this is what the residents want. This area is a rural 5-acre lots. And that's all that's been there for a long time. So I would ask you to just think about the people that fought this development Some of you were there, some of you weren't. But those people fought it for a reason. And just like the applicant said, this particular site has remained unchanged. There was a reason that this fight started, and I hope you continue that fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other person like to speak for or against the application? Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have two statements for the record in lieu of attendance. One being from Heather Bellamy, 2210 Cedar Drive. She would just like to let the record show that her objections for these items remain.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask that question actually. Can we just, we can just assume her first statement can interrupt the second statement, right? Sure. So, perfect, thank you.
And then I also have a statement in lieu of attendance from William Reed, 401 Hickory Lane.
Okay.
Says, good evening, council. First and foremost, I would like to apologize on behalf of my fellow Fatonians to Mr. Mabry and his team. A lot of the information surrounding this development has been shrouded with secrecy, but from what I gather, your team was in a race against the City of Fate to see who could get to the finish line first. City of Fate was racing to annex the tract of land into the city limits, which resulted in your team putting forward a proposed development that was less than desirable. Unfortunately for Mr. Mabry, the Sly Devils at City Hall were a tad bit quicker, which is why we are here 4 years later. To be honest, I kind of liked the residential development with the community gardens, plenty of open spaces, and parks and such. It is really a tragedy we ended up with the current plan. At the end of the day, this is a shameful way the City of Fate acted, and for that I apologize. Council members, I know you have probably already went into executive session and have had the COVAX drill approve over and over, but the truth is you don't have to approve this. Yeah, things may get rocky, but I truly believe there is still a chance to make this development something special once again. Just cut out the middleman, COVAX. If the decision is already made to accept this settlement, I would ask that you at least try to get the $1 million donation from Mr. Mabry's team to help build a park on the south side. Try to salvage some good for this. I've spoken to Links about this development, and we can all agree there is definitely some shade on it, so it's time. Are we simply going to set a precedent for future developers to come sue the city to be able to develop our community? Or are we willing to go back to the table and work with Mr. Mabry on something better than this proposed development? At the end of the day, remember, this is our city. We will be raising our families here for the foreseeable future. Let us make the call on what is acceptable and not acceptable, and let's take city staff's recommendation for what it is, a recommendation. You are the decision makers.
Anybody else like to speak for or against the application, please? Okay. I close the public hearing at 9:32. Vicki, that was it, right?
Yes.
Thank you. 9:32. Next, please.
Okay, next will be item 9, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding holding a public hearing on the creation of Montara Public Improvement District Number 1 and approval of resolution number R 2020-031, creating the PID district.
Michael, is this any applicant report or staff report? Were you just... No, I don't blame him. Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to the public hearing at 9:33. Anyone who'd like to oppose or support the application, please step forward. Vicki, do we have any?
I do.
Okay.
Heather Bellamy, address 221 Cedar Drive. Again,
Same objections?
Wants her objections to remain on the record.
All right, thank you. Perfect. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I close the public hearing at 9:34. Okay, next, please.
Item 10, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding holding a public hearing on the creation of Montara Public Improvement District Number 2 and approval of resolution number R 2020-032, creating the PID district.
Any report from staff or applicant? Guess I just go through the process of get a no. All right. I'd like to start, open the public hearing at 9:34, please. Anyone is wishing to speak for or against this application, please step forward. Or don't. All right.
For the record, Heather Bellamy, 221 Cedar Drive, objects and wants it on the record.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other? All right. I'd like to close the public hearing at 9:34. Wow. All right. So just a couple things I want to address real quick, then we'll discuss the voting. So the executive session tonight was to brief the council on last-minute changes to the agreement that the council needed to be briefed on. That's why we had the public hearing. I mean, the executive session tonight. That wasn't no other reason for that besides that to do that. And then $1 million, that was early in the negotiations, a really long time ago. That was been out of the conversation for many years, actually. So that's just kind of puts those two issues to bed. All right. So I think what we do now is, Brenda, by agreement, we've been requested to do one vote, and I want to make sure I get this.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure. Yeah, go ahead.
A quick question, Michael, about the both of these two items. They're paying all impact fees, correct? Park, road, and water impact fees?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we get the facts out there.
We're not waiving fees.
Yeah.
So the documents proposed this evening have the property development paying all impact fees and all park development fees, and meeting the open space requirements in our UDO.
Okay, thank you.
And design, UDO design standards and everything according to our UDO?
Well,
It's part of the PD.
the development agreements contain standards that we can't include in the zoning that deal with exterior building materials over and above what could be enforced otherwise.
Okay. Okay, my understanding, we're going to vote on agenda item in a single vote for agenda items 61 through 6012, correct?
That's correct.
Vicki?
That is correct.
All right. Any more council discussion? All right, I'll take a motion, please.
All right, I move to approve agenda items 6D 1 through 12 with the development agreement as presented in executive session and with the condition that the residential primary plat be updated to reflect the February 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting.
I have a motion by Councilman Robbins. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Hamilton. Roll call vote. Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Megacy.
No.
Councilman Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fisher.
No.
And I vote no. So the motion fails 3-3. It's a tie motion. The motion fails 3-3 with Councilman Fisher. Councilwoman Fisher, Councilman Megacy, and Mayor Pro Tem Billings voting no.
So
Now
what
what?
I always encourage my boards, commissions, councils to do is to continue to deliberate until you reach a motion that passes, either a motion to approve or a motion to deny, so that we have a clear action of the council. So I would urge you to continue to deliberate until you come to something that achieves a majority vote.
I'm going to leave this up to the council. They want to deliberate. We can definitely do that. But I think I'll skip the rest for now. So what do you guys want to do? It's up to you.
Well, my feeling on it is a settlement, and settlements, are what they are. I just feel like the risk of losing this and going back to the original two pre-plats that they sent us. I think this is better, but not the best.
Any other comments? Thank you.
I think that I would, not that I would encourage, but I prefer litigation over agreeing to something that no one agrees with.
So, let me.
Let me
just speak to that real quick.
Sure, absolutely. Then I have a comment.
So, the documents before you this evening reflect accurately the settlement agreement that was approved by the council. So what the development agreement does is capture those agreements that have already been made. So in that regard, there's nothing new tonight.
Yeah, but so this is where we're going to have to. This is where it's going to get harder to have a conversation now,
sure.
Right? So let's just play it out there, right? So I'm not sure how much executive session are you going to allow us to discuss in public tonight, because there was developments today, since Wednesday to today, right? With the agreement, some were minor changes. I'm fine with that. Some were not minor changes, right?
So I explained that, and I'll be happy to explain it here.
Yeah.
So I think the document at issue is the development agreement. And Art Anderson, the attorney for the plaintiffs, sent us his draft of the development agreement about 40 days ago, I think, somewhere, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And the city team met Friday, a week ago, not just this last Friday, but the Friday before that. And we put together our comprehensive comments to his development agreement. And we sent that to them last week on Monday or Tuesday. And really nothing changed last week except that there was some refinement language with regard to the PIDs, and it was crystallized that there is a disagreement between what the plaintiff's attorney drafted a month or so ago and what our edits were 2 weeks ago to the remedies language. Nothing else changed.
Yeah, but just right there, if you don't mind, okay? Sure. But that's the sticking point for a lot of us, right? Is the fact that the developer wanted to create some liability for the city that we find as a council, based on your advice, as unacceptable to this risk to the city.
Correct.
Right, and so it was. So the motion tonight was to try to say we'll accept the original language of the agreement and send it back to the developer and see if they would agree with us or not. Correct?
No, the motion is to accept my remedies language.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I mean
never. There wasn't a switcheroo last week on this, and I want to be clear about that.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying when they came back on Wednesday and said we want new language in the contract and impact.
It wasn't new language.
The remedy language is different.
It's their language that they sent to us
I get
40 days ago.
I understand that, but we still rejected that, right?
We rejected it, and they said, well, we reject your rejection.
So why would this council ever, I'll just speak for myself, I don't mean they can speak for themselves, besides my hatred for PIDs, as is well known in this community. But number two is I honestly felt like they were putting this city into long-term financial peril. It would commit future councils and mayors to potential long-term court suing, and that we have to pay for it the way they structured the language. And I think that was the sticking point.
But that's not the document that was before you this evening.
I understand
but
that.
We said no to that.
I get what you're
saying.
saying.
So there's no risk.
I'm saying, Brenda, people don't understand what we went through tonight, right? This is not we're hiding anything. We're not a conspiracy, as stated tonight.
But I need to be clear on behalf of the developer that their lawyer drafted the development agreement the way I would draft a development agreement for my client. And then we talked through every issue, And the only issue we disagree on is the remedies issue.
But that is a
and
huge...
that wasn't changed language.
But there's an agreement.
I understand,
So
but I think it's
then it's
important.
not a settled agreement.
I think it's important to understand that there wasn't a switcheroo last week. That they sent us language, we disagreed, and they declined to accept our changes on the remedies language. With regard to every other issue, we have reached agreement. Except on the remedies
and
language.
that is a huge financial issue for us.
But the motion tonight would have approved our language, our language, not the developers.
I understand that.
Okay.
I fully understand that. I just want to make sure people understand
Yes.
what we went through tonight, right? This is not a simple thing of we disappear in executive session for some unknown reason, we come back, right? There was a specific reason why you went in executive session tonight, right?
The sole issue was the issue of the disagreement between the parties on the remedies language. Every other component meets what was approved previously by the council in the settlement agreement.
It's still not settled.
I don't disagree with that, actually. So we're with the council. I mean, the council got to decide, do we reconsider or we just move on the agenda? Is that what you're asking, Brenda?
Yes.
I
would love to have you reconsider, but I certainly understand if you choose not to.
Okay, to do that, we have to have a motion to reconsider in a second, and we can go through that process again if you like, right?
So, well, there was no prevailing side. So there's no motion to reconsider.
Okay, but it failed 3-3 because it was tied, right?
Right, but so it's not a motion to reconsider. It's just, is there a motion?
All right, thank you.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
There's a process for reconsideration.
No, I understand.
Okay.
And that's why I brought it up, so I make sure we do this correctly. All right, it's up to the council. We can make a motion or we can move on. Let's just go one by one, make sure we're on the record so nobody's... John, are you willing to stand with the vote we have? Alan?
Yes.
Hey.
I'm willing to stand.
Lance?
I'm not going to change my vote.
Okay. All right. Next, please. Hey, by the way, just real quickly, do we explain what happens next, or we do that in executive session? How does that work?
I have no idea. I'm assuming that we go back to where we were.
Okay. All right. Next, please.
Agenda item E, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action regarding grant applications for COVID-19 expenses. One being resolution number R 2020-035 and two being resolution number R 2020-036.
All right. Is this yours, Michael? Or Raj, wants to do it? All right.
I can tell you one thing, this is going to be very easy. We can wrap up in 2 minutes.
I don't blame you at all, actually.
Okay. What we did, we have included two resolutions for the COVID-19 grant. The first one is we are applying for a state grant through CRF, Corona Relief Fund. The maximum allotment is $793,485, and the state will deposit 20% right away, as early as tomorrow or this week, which is $158,697, and that the grant covers from March 1st, 20 through December 30th. If we still have more expenses than 158, we can still apply for that reimbursement.
So just a quick question, if you don't mind. So Michael, we discussed $758,000 and change, right, in total. Are both motions add to that then? They're just broken into two separate requests?
So there's two resolutions.
Right. Okay.
One is for the Governor's Criminal Justice Division, which is a $10,000 grant that we would use for only DPS expenses after, so it would be basically December 31st forward as the way we're going to structure that. But then the big one through the Coronavirus Relief Fund or the CRF is going to be up until December 30th. That's the one where we've got the 158 right now.
Okay.
We're trying to limit our expenses to about 300,000, maybe less.
Okay.
And then we could have about, let's say, roughly 490-some thousand left over in our allotment, which we're going to try and discuss with the county to see if they need it. Because I know they've got, last we heard, they had about 350,000 in expenses. They only got about 90 from the state.
Okay.
So what are the federal requirements?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the federal requirements to actually push the date back to early January for eligible expense reporting periods. So there's other things that you can claim as well.
Not that we've seen yet. We've seen the latest guidance as of Thursday.
Okay.
But the grant period still ends on the...
Yeah, and on the governor's conference call with the mayors and county judges, we did not see a change in that either, but I was on the call.
There's some talk in Congress about
there's some talk about
going
it,
back,
right.
and they're trying to get to some sort of compromise. I don't know if they're trying to. They've probably given up by now. But a few weeks ago, they were trying to come up with: is it going to be new money for the states and locals, or the counties? Is it going to be just going back and giving a little bit more flexibility to the existing funds? And so far, they haven't. They haven't changed it.
Sorry, David. So how did we get $700,000 worth of expenses? Or we didn't, because if you're only spending $300,000 or you're trying to keep it, how did we qualify for $700,000?
It's the award for the county, right?
It is so the state came up with a formula based on per capita expenses, essentially, and that's how big the federal allotment is
for the county.
Right?
For the county or for FATE? It's for
FATE
FATE because they want to give half the money back.
Right.
To the
FATE's
county.
share is $783,000. We don't think we will come close to hitting that. We're probably up to about maybe about 300. As of today, between March 1st and today, we're about 80 or so. We still have to put a few more spaces in or so.
So the only reason we would go for the $700,000 because we qualify for the $700,000 is to give the county half of it.
Right. And there's the way the state structured it. You've got to use 75% of your funds in either staff time or direct medical response or direct response to the actual virus, and 25% you can use for things like economic development and other type things, you're moving your staff around as far as spacing things out. Oh, we're about 131. Raju estimates 131,000 in expenses. That includes direct staff time, and there's some debate about whether staff time is going to be...
What about our small business grant program? Is that counted in that 131?
Right, that's about 33. We'll have to show the revenue coming in when people buy the gift cards, so we'll have to deduct part of that.
Right, and then we have met all the federal requirements on reporting, receipts, detailed logs, time logs, on that.
Right,
correct?
we're going to go back. So you always have to be careful with these guys, or with the disaster process, because the first person you talk to is like, absolutely, that's covered. And the next person you talk to the next year goes, I don't know what this last guy was talking about, but this stuff isn't covered. And then, of course, then you see the next guy. Finally, the auditors show up in about 5 years, and they go through all your paperwork, and they say, well, there's not enough detail. Why did this person have to spend this many hours on this day doing what? Why should we pay for that? So it gets, the farther away from the media coverage, the stricter the enforcement.
Yeah, so
You have to really be careful with some of the stuff. So I think we're going
to... But if you can truly justify $300,000 or so of expenses.
That's what we think we'll run into. Mm-hmm.
How can you take $700,000?
Oh, we're not. We're not going to take the $700,000.
You're not. Well, you're going to take the full grant. That's what you're looking for, so you could give the county half.
So
how is that going to be? Because the city's taking it out in the city main, right? City of Fate, we qualify for $700,000 worth of grants.
Correct.
We want that $700,000. So the federal government gives you the $700,000, which you redirect half over to the county because they didn't get as much. Is the city still in any way, shape, or form on any kind of financial hook for validating that $700,000 worth of grant money?
Yes, according to the latest guidance that came out from TML, reporting on the latest stuff that came out on Thursday, we would have to work with the county to make sure, right, so we would be on the hook. If our
Yeah,
money goes to the county.
So we would have to write the check back to the state
Right.
and
Right.
then get a claw money back from the county if that happens.
So you'd have to-
If
Yes.
the county would do that.
Right.
And
So you have to
I'd
put
like
that
to
in
know-
the interlocal agreement.
I'd like to know what that interlocal agreement is, and that it shifts the burden back over to the county to provide the necessary records to protect the liability of the city in the future. Because
But it doesn't though.
So
we're on
the hook for it
we're
regardless.
on the state's records of take the 738. So they're going to come to us and say,
Where is it?
where's the 738? We say we
and
got
we're going to say, well, here's what the county gave us
And
because
so
we gave it to the county,
states
and
can
they're going to say tough.
Give us our 430,000 back.
Exactly.
We're going to write it back, and then we're going to say, hey, Rockwell County, good faith, I need my 430 back.
So the way that we're going to what I'm proposing, right? So the first step is Michael, myself, and you're more than welcome to attend. We're going to meet with the county judge, right? Walk him through the process because Michael has expressed the exact same concern you're expressing, that we get stuck with something with the liability of it. The county makes a mistake with the money, right? I don't agree with that. So we're going to have to go through that process where they absolutely, right? We actually are protected by the city, or I just won't agree to it. If you'd like to attend the meeting, please let me know and I'll invite you. Okay, but Michael has raised that concern. We'll be very careful what we do because we don't get stuck doing that, right?
We've got to bring that, the interlocal has to come back to
The governor
it has to be
has-
approved, so there's no interlocal tonight.
Yeah, the governor has
County may not be
encouraged.
interested.
This is the dilemma we got placed in, right? So, correct me if I get wrong on this, but you're on the call too, right? Is some of the counties in the state of Texas are actually just taking the money, right? The congressional action, for some reason, allocated money to over 500,000 people in a city. You go directly to the federal government, below 500,000, you go to the state and the county. Don't know why it worked that way, it just did, right? Some of the counties are taking all the money, all of it. And now getting into the cities, right? So Abbott has been adamant about sharing, right? If you can share. Make sure the county and then the city share, right? I don't think he's doing this in goodwill. He's just doing it in good faith. I don't think he realized that if you do that, who requested the fund is liable on a clawback. That's what I think the dilemma is, right? And that's what the guidance from the state has not addressed yet. So locally, we are going to address that issue, and we're going to make sure the clawbacks are correct and legal. We'll get Brenda involved and the county legal involved if we have to, but I'm not going to endorse or sign an agreement that makes a liability for the city. Does that make sense as an approach, Lance? I mean, that's the plan, right? So,
As long as the agreements are in place that puts the county on the hook for their record keeping and their auditability.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they have to be.
But just understand, I think the state has up to 2 years to claw the money back.
They've come back. So 5 years is typically some of the things, but some of the new paperwork, some of the agreements that we've seen, is say 7. They can come back up to 7 years later.
So 5 years from now, they come back and ask us for $430,000.
7 years from now.
So
But the county needs to be able to back up their, if we're going to give the county half the money, and I don't have a problem doing that, right?
yeah, we're trying to do the right thing, right? Yeah.
I mean,
protect
that's fine, as long as the county can pass the audits and give us, if we get called on it, to be able to prove that they did it.
The county has no audit. The county has audit for their actual expenses.
Right.
Yeah, but I think the
then
motion-
we have
We're
to,
audited for the 738.
and they'll come back and they'll find, oh, well, you didn't have 738, so give us our $400,000 back. There has got to be mechanisms in place, hard mechanisms in place that the county would, and what shape is the county going to be in 5 years?
Right, Michael, but
Or 7.
But tonight, it's just the 338.
Right. So for tonight, we're just applying for the grant money, and then when we do the local agreement, we'll bring the agreement back to council for approval, correct? Because
Correct.
David's going to have it
Any
through
interlocal,
Commissioner's
right.
Court.
Yeah, the county may not want to have that.
Right.
They may not need it.
I mean, the county judge agreed to meet with us, and when we discussed it on the COVID-19 task force call, he was willing to have the conversation, but he's going to run it through the Commissioner's Court. We're going to run it back through council. So tonight, I think, is just to approve the 2 grant applications tonight so we can move forward, and the interlocal agreement will be a separate conversation by the Commissioner's Court and by our council. That's what I think the approach we're going to take, right? Okay.
So let me ask one other question. At any point in the future during this grant process, can we turn down money? So if you apply for the $700,000 and we get into, they approve it, right? And like Raju said, they're going to deposit 20% of it tomorrow, potentially.
So
right?
the way
and the county doesn't want to go into this agreement. Can we say, whoa, we only want 300,000?
So they're going to wire us or ACH us the 158,000.
Right.
20%. We'll present records to back up the expenses on the 20%. If we request more than the 158, so what we've got to do, we've got to expend those funds and then request reimbursement. So we make a request. Let's say we make a reimbursement request for another 100,000. We provide all the documents. We've got to send them all of our documentation on the first 20%, plus the documentation on the next 10% that we want to spend, or that we've already spent for reimbursement. And then at that point, they're going to go through all of our paperwork, and we'll see if we run into any issues. We run into them on the early. So we can, at some point, if we stop expending money or they start getting real nitpicky, we can stop the reimbursement requests.
So then how do you request the money to give to the county if you don't have the paperwork back it?
The county we would have to make it, so we've made an estimate of what we think our costs would be.
Yeah, you're right. Your grant is is a proposed budget of
I get
738.
it. I get it, but even though it's a proposed budget and a proposed grant, right? If there's if Michael has to provide documents to prove what you're requesting, so you get the funding to go with it. If you don't have the funding for the extra $300,000 to go to the county, how do you get it?
So the county's got to expend money and then request reimbursement from the state.
In our name.
Well, at that point, the money's been transferred to the county. The feds just want to put somebody on the hook if something goes wrong.
We're the hook.
No, I get it. I get we're the hook, and the mechanism on how that works is foggy at best.
Right, and this is a completely new program.
Hey, it's free money. They don't want to make it easy.
It isn't free. That's the whole point. It's never free.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, there's two worlds. There's the world of Congress and the magical deficit, and then there's the folks in the agency that know that there is no money, and they want to try and limit the damage.
I would like to ask a question. So, looking in the crystal ball, we're trying to limit the 300,000. We've spent 158,000 or so of that.
131, including our direct time.
The majority of that 131,000 is that staff time, or is that more supplies?
It is about it's about 50-50.
50-50? Okay. So, in my experience with this type of thing, the staff time is up for a lot more scrutiny than supplies is.
Correct.
So sometimes any COVID differentials, overtime is sometimes kicked out or accepted. So how solid are you on your staffing numbers?
It is going to be anyone who does not spend 50% or more of their time is going to have to, we're going to have to document it and make an argument of why this is significant. So let's say I spend 30% of my time on this, and that continues through, but I don't spend 50% of my time. We'll have to have some documentation as far as if we want to claim my time, why the feds should compensate us for that. Someone can always come back as a reviewer and say, "Yeah, we're not going to cover that expense." So that blows a hole in that budget significantly.
So we want to make a foolproof case. What we're doing is we are documenting every person every day how many hours they spend on COVID-19.
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. That's it's the same thing I would do.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I understand the city side of it. I just don't understand how the county side of it. Even though the money gets transferred to the county, in order to request the money, you still got to provide documentation to get the money to give to the county.
Yes.
Well, we think
What else
we don't know, but
I mean that's what it is, and
we think the county would have to provide. We think the way I think it would work is the county would have to provide. Let's say they spend 100,000, or they've already spent 350. So let's say they say, okay, we got 90. We 350. We're going to submit for the remainder. Here's our expenses. They're going to submit it to the state, and the state's going to then pay them, hopefully, the difference.
Directly?
Yes, that's the way I hope it would work.
But we are still on the hook for the seven and change.
But if some auditor comes back in 7 years and says, I don't know what all these people were talking about, none of this is eligible,
right?
Then they would come after the city, and then we would have our interlocal agreement say, we're trying to help you out. Don't impoverish us. You guys pay that $400,000 back.
All right. As long as those agreements are in to make sure that the county has got proper records. Because that's what it's all going to boil down to, is whether their records are accepted or not.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Tamara or John or Alan, any comments, questions on this?
No.
I don't. What?
They covered it for me. Thanks.
What's that? No question.
No questions. Tamara, you have questions? Okay. Do you need two separate votes, or you do one vote, or how do you want to do this? I think we covered both, so I think I'll get you off the hook for that. The two resolutions? Okay. Thank you, Brenda.
Mayor Pro Tem Billings?
Yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, well, let's do this. So we, is it for 11 or 12? Do you know?
It's for item 6E.
I'm sorry, 6E. We have two resolutions. Is it for resolution number 1 or number 2? Do you know, or is it generally?
It's in general.
Okay, go ahead then, please.
Heather Bellamy, 221 Cedar Drive. Can you please explain, besides the waiver of fees for credit card payments, some specific examples of the hard and soft costs the city has experienced due to COVID-19 that require this grant? Thank you.
You want to try, Michael? I'm not totally sure I understood the question. So
She's just asking what the expenses are.
Okay.
So that's a good question. Things like masks.
Okay.
We've bought different kinds of masks, extra cleaning supplies. Basically anything that was not in the budget as far as running into expectations for costs. So we've
and
got
how about testing programs?
any kind of if we do a testing program, right? We haven't done one of those yet, but if we did one of those, we'd have to try and fit it into the right category. But that something like that would be eligible as well. Yeah, we've
really?
purchased. Yeah, we've purchased extra equipment. Purchased extra equipment to be able to facilitate our staff to work from home during part of our staff, and then of course Michael's time as well. So,
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this example, we're not near as bad as some of the bigger cities, so we've got it really light compared to.
You know, I know you told me and showed me, we have good records and receipts. We've done a really good job compared to some other cities around here, actually. Okay. All right, let's do one at a time. I will take a motion for agenda item E1, please.
I make a motion we approve Resolution R 2020-035.
I have a motion approved by Councilman Fields. I have a second.
Do we need to include the stipulation that Lance pointed out in this resolution?
No,
Okay.
we're going to bring back the interlocal agreement separately.
Okay.
I remember both the Commissioner
just gonna
Court and
table it.
Council has to approve it.
Okay. Then I second.
I have a second by Councilman Hamilton. All right, Councilman Fisher. Yes. Councilman Hamilton.
Yes.
And Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Megacy.
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion passes 6-0. I'll take a motion on E2.
I make a motion that we pass Resolution R 2020-036.
All right, I have a motion by Councilperson Hamilton.
Second.
Sorry, I am tired. It's all right. I'm just in shock. I have a second by Councilman Fields. Councilman Megacy.
Yes.
Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Robbins.
Yes.
Councilman Hamilton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fisher. I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. Next, please.
Item 7, Mayor, Council, and City Manager reports.
So first couple of things real quickly. Thank you for everybody who stayed tonight. It was a really long night. So I do appreciate that, and all the comments made by the public. I think it's important that we have engaged citizens in our community. I'd like to take this time to thank the Rockwell County Law Enforcement, Fate DPS, Rockwell PD, and the Robert PD on their handling yesterday and today of their peaceful protests. Our citizens exercised their First Amendment rights, which we fully support, and they did it in a peaceful manner that was constructive. And I think law enforcement in this county judge, and Rockwell Emergency Management did an extraordinarily great job tonight and yesterday. And I'm thankful for that they would do it, allow our citizens to express their opinions in a peaceful way, and they did it most highly professional way. And we'll keep people informed as needed. Okay, Councilwoman Fisher.
Congratulations to the seniors again, and I'm really excited for the future, and please God, keep everybody safe out there.
Councilman Hamilton.
I have nothing to report.
Councilman Robbins.
Yes, congratulations all the seniors and all the ISDs, and just want everyone to think about having peace
Have in peace.
Staying
Amen.
calm, having peace.
Amen. Councilman Fields.
Nothing to add. Thank you very much to all city staff, citizens, and general population keeping a calm, cool head.
Mr. Megacy.
I'd like to congratulate all the seniors at the different ISDs. I know this was probably heartbreaking for a lot of students on graduation parties and all that kind of stuff. Like I said earlier, make good choices.
And thank you, Tamara, for doing the sign tonight for us. That was really cool outside. Yeah? Ms. Tamara did a really good job in arranging that for us to get all that stuff done. All right, next, please. Michael, I'm sorry. Next is Mr. Michael.
Just one item. The Parks Board is returning to live service, and
Yes.
they'll be here tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Excellent. Thank you. All right.
Adjournment.
Take a motion so we can leave, please.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? If you are opposed, just